Everyone yearned to become stronger. Everyone yearned to become stronger. Everyone wanted to gain more power. Long Batian was a legend in the ancient world. Even if 1,000,000,000 years had passed, no one would forget about Long Batian. Because, in the eyes of many in the ancient world, Long Batian was the #1 overlord, and also the strongest overlord. Even if the Xian nationality controlled the entire ancient world and Emperor Xian became the #1 powerhouse, in their hearts, the position of the Emperor Xian was not even close to Long Batian's. Only after so many years had passed could Long Batian be considered to be the absolute hegemon. Long Batian did not rely on any foreign forces to establish the Dragon Clan and destroy all of the ancient clans in the ancient world. Anyone who refused to accept this outcome would be knocked down. Not even that. Long Batian led the Dragon Clan and resisted the invasion from the other realms. To be able to compete with outer space powerhouse, this was the true hegemon of the kingdom. In the eyes of many, Long Batian was even more of a hero. With Long Batian's death, the ancient world entered into an era where demons were wreaking havoc. The rise of Ming clan. The great battle between the Xianming tribe and the Xianming tribe. The rapid fall of the Ming clan. Whether it was the mortal world, the universal realm, or even those small planes, they all had the power of the Xian nationality. This was completely different from the dragon race back then. On the surface, he was trying to reinforce his own position, but many people knew that the Emperor Xian was scared. He was afraid of Long Batian's return. Both the Emperor Xian and the Xian nationality were like ants when Long Batian was still alive. Long Batian had been suppressed by the outer world god stone and had his body buried in the abyss of the Ashura. He had never been to the Ashura anywhere, however he had never been to the Ashura abyss. Everyone knew that the Emperor Xian was afraid of Long Batian. Legends of Long Batian also surfaced one after another. Some said that Long Batian did not die, and instead went to another world. Some people said that Long Batian had offended the heavens, and was suppressed by a stone in the Ashura's abyss. Whoever could pick up that stone, Long Batian could return. Some people even said that it was the Long Batian suppressed by the outer space powerhouse. However, the most common legend was that Long Batian had summoned his own divine stone and suppressed his own body, so that he could wait for his soul to be reborn. Moreover, his dragon soul contained an incomparably strong power. Whoever could obtain this power could become the strongest overlord of the ancient world. Everyone wanted to obtain Long Batian's strength. Long Wushan wanted it. Undead Lord also wanted it. As for the Emperor Xian's reward, to an old monster like the Undead Lord, he did not care at all. What he wanted was another breakthrough. Thus, when he discovered Long Fei, he immediately rushed over. Legend has it that Long Batian's power is hidden within his dragon soul, is that right? Undead Lord slowly walked to Long Fei's side. It's your sister. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't talk so much nonsense. Long Fei could not move, but his heart secretly tensed up. No wonder Long Wushan wanted to take the dragon soul in my sea of consciousness. The dragon soul contains Long Batian's power? Ancient dragon body? If it's this kind of power, it shouldn't pique the interest of these old freaks, right? Long Fei couldn't understand. She asked Long Guangdao in her heart, do you know what kind of power is hidden in the dragon soul? Dragon Guang truly helped Long Fei think of a way to survive. Hearing Long Fei's question, he replied, I don't know, Master has never mentioned it. Long Fei snickered in his heart, perhaps this is where Long Batian's brilliance lies. However, even if there is a hidden power that can destroy the heaven and earth, it has nothing to do with me anymore. His dragon soul had already been taken out by Long Wushan. Moreover, Long Wushan's corpse had also been devoured by the purple dragon. The fact that his dragon soul had been extracted was something that probably no one knew about. When he thought about how the purple dragon was about to devour Long Wushan's body, the space between Long Fei's eyebrows tightened up. Damn. Could this step also be Long Batian's chess piece? If that's the case. Long Batian, oh Long Batian, you are truly amazing. Long Wushan had died, but the purple dragon was still alive. The dragon soul was also in a special bottle on Long Wushan's body. If The purple dragon was arranged by Long Batian. Then, the dragon's soul then returned to Long Batian's body. If so, Long Fei felt that his brain was no longer sufficient. If everything is as I guessed, then what is the purpose of setting up such an astonishing game? Does everything have a purpose? What is your purpose? Resume Dragon Soul? To escape from these trillions of years? Or for some other purpose? Long Fei couldn't think of anything. However, it was useless to think about it. He couldn't even preserve his own life right now, not even his own woman. Perhaps. All this time, I was only able to survive because of Long Batian, right? Now that my dragon soul is gone, this chess piece of mine is no longer of any value. Long Fei laughed bitterly in his heart. He smiled bitterly with a hint of unwillingness. Undead Lord circled around Long Fei and said thoughtfully, "You don't have anything special about you. Long Batian hid his strength too deeply? Let me take a look." As soon as he finished, Undead Lord suddenly grabbed Long Fei's right hand, causing the idea to move. Boom. Long Fei felt as if his body was electrocuted. A numbing force from his right hand gushed into his sea of consciousness. That feeling was like a steel needle that pierced into his brain. Ah! Long Fei was in so much pain that her eyeballs were about to pop out. It was just that. In an instant, Undead Lord's gaze tensed up and his expression suddenly changed. It's empty. Such an unbearable sea of consciousness, it's simply unable to contain the dragon soul. Not Long Batian's reincarnation? Are you really Long Fei? Undead Lord looked at Long Fei with doubt. He was extremely suspicious, because Long Fei did not have the slightest bit of dragon chi on his body. Long Fei said, "I am called Long Fei, but I am not Long Batian's reincarnation." With a slight movement of the Undead Lord's finger, it pierced through the center of Long Fei's palm. Blood gushed out. Long Fei gritted his teeth in pain. Whether or not it is the blood of a dragon can explain everything. Undead Lord touched the blood on Long Fei's palm and sucked it. Half a second later, his gaze changed again. How is this possible? Is there really a mistake? That's impossible. Your blood is just ordinary blood. Not to mention the Dragon Clan, even the strength contained in normal beast blood is stronger than yours. You are a complete piece of trash. But Undead Lord was even more surprised. Similarly, Long Fei was also definitely surprised. His blood clearly contained an incomparably powerful strength. Could it be that it had also disappeared along with the dragon soul? F***CK. Undead Lord stared at Long Fei. He did not give up. I don't believe it. At this moment, he grabbed towards Long Fei's abdomen with one hand, as if he was a test subject. "I want to see your pubes." Long Fei's eyes darkened, and he exclaimed in his heart, "We're finished. It's over. It's over." Long Fei's mind sank. The Undead Lord grabbing onto his abdomen would not be able to take it. Even if he could, his pubes would probably shatter. Even if the pubes did not break, then his star relate to Dantian would probably be known by him. Even an ancient being like the God's Pavilion said that Long Fei was extremely powerful. If the Undead Lord found out, he would probably not let this matter go. His life was already in someone else's hands. Long Fei couldn't do anything now, he could only watch as Undead Lord attacked. He really was too strong. Long Fei was no match for him. However, Long Fei was unwilling. He clenched his fists tightly. "If you can't kill me today, I'll definitely kill you next time." Undead Lord laughed coldly, completely disregarding Long Fei. In his eyes, Long Fei was like an ant. His hand directly pressed onto Long Fei's abdomen. In that moment, Long Fei's abdomen caved in, and a huge force immediately surged out from Undead Lord's hands, like a red-hot piece of iron. His entire abdomen seemed to be burning. After sticking to the position of the pubes, Undead Lord's fingers suddenly grabbed. As if his fingers had no nails, the power of his fingers pierced into the location of the pubes. At this moment, Long Fei was in so much pain that he couldn't even let out a sound. He couldn't struggle. He couldn't even make a sound from the pain. The pubes felt like 5 needles were stabbing down. Since they couldn't find Long Fei in Long Fei's sea of consciousness, coupled with the fact that Long Fei didn't have the aura of a dragon, The undead lord was about to give up. He thought that Long Fei was not Long Baishan's reincarnation. However, when his power flowed into Long Fei's pubes, it was as if his body had been electrocuted. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. Your pubes. How is this possible? No. Absolutely impossible. This. Isn't this too magical? What he felt was not the pubes, but a boundless space. The space was suffused with starlight, as if it was a sky, a world. It was not the same world. It was like a universe. Undead Lord was extremely shocked. When he felt Long Fei's star relate to Dantian, he did not know what to do. He even thought it was an illusion. He retracted his hand, and grabbed Long Fei by the collar, staring straight at Long Fei. Kid, what's wrong with your pubes? Speak. Undead Lord was an old monster who could tell that there was a problem with his pubes with a light palm, but he did not know what Long Fei's pubes was. How did you get here? He even had doubts in his heart as to whether this was a pubes or not. Long Fei's abdomen was burning as he endured the pain. He smiled and said, "Call me father, this father will tell you." Ha ha ha. The secret of the pubes was discovered, and Long Fei knew that he would not be able to escape death. But he couldn't save Liu Luoshi and his child. Thinking about all these, Long Fei's heart felt like it was dying. Undead Lord raised Long Fei into the air and said sinisterly, "Are you looking to die? Brat, I have 10,000 different ways of dying a miserable death that you can't even imagine. If you are a bit more straightforward, I will leave you a complete corpse. Tell me clearly, what happened to your pubes? What's the name of your pubes? Is the power inside your pubes Long Baishan's power? Tell me." Undead Lord glared at Long Fei fiercely. His heart was excited. Because Long Fei's pubes made him incomparably excited. If he had such a pubes, perhaps he could become the #1 powerhouse. Maybe the outer space powerhouse would choose him, not the Emperor Xian. For so many years, he had always been subservient to others and had always contributed to the Xian nationality. In the eyes of the Emperor Xian, he was only a family servant. He wanted to be strong, stronger than even the Emperor Xian. But his natural talent and potential were limited, and his current cultivation could no longer be broken through. He could only look for external help. He had been looking for Long Baishan's strength the entire time. He had been looking for Long Fei. He had gone to the Dragon Vein Mountain more than once. He was very disappointed and even dejected that Long Fei did not have a dragon soul on him, because it was possible that only Long Baishan's power could allow him to break through the shackles of ancient world. When he sensed Long Fei's special pubes, the flames of hope in his heart once again ignited. He would not let go of such an opportunity. Long Fei laughed coldly. "Come on, if you're capable, use it right now, come and kill me. If you can't kill me, then I'll F***K your entire family." Undead Lord's eyes were brimming with anger. He struck Long Fei in the chest with his palm. Bang! Long Fei did not move his body, but the power of the Undead Lord was like a nuclear bomb that exploded in his body. The health point above his head crazily decreased. However, the control of the Undead Lord was extremely strong, and he was very clear on Long Fei's condition of life and death. His strength caused Long Fei to feel so much pain that he wished he were dead, but he would not take Long Fei's life. "Tell me, is this Long Baishan's power?" Undead Lord shouted. Long Fei laughed coldly. "If you call me father, I'll tell you." Ha ha ha. Showing his blooded teeth, he laughed maniacally. Long Fei knew that he wouldn't be able to live anymore. The god's chop had already cooled down, so even if there was no cooldown, there was still too big of a gap in level between them to be able to kill it. The power of the ancient dragon body was gone too. System initialization, no power available. Everything depended on him now. Undead Lord laughed sinisterly. "You want to die, right? It's not that easy. Since you won't say anything, then it doesn't matter. I want your pubes." Undead Lord lost his patience. He did not want to continue talking with Long Fei, regardless of whether Long Fei's pubes was power. This pubes gave him hope. Just get the pubes. In that instant, when Undead Lord released his hand, Long Fei immediately fell to the ground. Then, The undead lord quickly formed a seal and released a ray of seal's power, blasting towards the location of the Long Fei instance dungeon. Long Fei's abdomen seemed to have disappeared, he could no longer feel it. Completely numb. Undead lord laughed blandly. "Brat, your pubes is going to be mine soon, ha ha ha." He laughed wildly. Undead lord's palm turned into a claw, the power of his 5 fingers compressed like a flame. If this strand of power struck Long Fei, his entire abdomen would disappear. Long Fei clenched his teeth and roared. He did everything he could, but it was all useless. There was no other way. He was too weak. The undead lord adjusted his breathing. At this time, he didn't dare be careless as well, as destroying Long Fei's pubes with just a slight bit of carelessness was not what he wanted. The look in his eyes was firm. His 5 fingers moved, directly pressing down towards Long Fei's abdomen. Long Fei looked up to the sky, his eyes filled with dissatisfaction. It was also at this moment that he saw a black dot flash down from the sky. But undead lord suddenly stopped, everyone's eyes became gloomy, and the powerful qi on his body also continued to be released, and he said solemnly, "Mu Tianhe." Undead lord suddenly stopped. Undead lord suddenly stopped. Because he knew that if he did not stop, he might die in the next second. The other party's aura wasn't any weaker than his. If Undead Lord continued to attack Long Fei, then at the same time, he would also be heavily injured. To Undead Lord, this was not even worth the loss. The higher the cultivation, the more important their lives were. He had already lived for several trillion years, but it was not easy for him to live all these years. This was because his cultivation could not be broken through, so he could only extend his life through continuous rebirth and the use of his fresh body to extend his life. Thus, he valued his own life greatly. The black shadow descended. It was an old man. His hair was slightly numb, and an aura of spatial distortion surrounded him. Beneath his feet, the surrounding space seemed to be turbulent. Other than that, the aura exuding from his body was also extremely oppressive. "Mu Tianhe," Undead Lord said in a deep voice, "This is none of your business. If you know what's good for you, get the hell away from me." Mu Tianhe. Long Fei was startled. Why is this name a little familiar? It seems like someone mentioned this to me before. Long Fei couldn't recall anything at the moment. However, when the old man landed, he looked at Long Fei, and when their gazes met, Long Fei felt a sense of kindness and worry in his eyes. It made his heart feel very warm. Just like family love. Mu Tianhe looked at Undead Lord, smiled lightly, and said, "What? Is this your home? If you tell me to F***ck off, then I'll F***k off." Undead Lord's eyes turned sinister as he said, "Speak, what are you here for?" Mu Tianhe said, "Your goal is the same as yours." The expression in Undead Lord's eyes tightened, and said, "Mu Tianhe, do you think that your Mu clan is strong enough to stand above your Xian nationality? In other words, are you tired of living? Or did your God-living mountain want to disappear from the face of the ancient world just like your Dragon Vein mountain?" As he spoke till here, Long Fei's mind tightened, and he lost his voice. Your grandfather? Where is the God-living mountain?" When Murong Xiong told Long Fei to enter the ancient world, he insisted on going to the God-living mountain to see him. He said that his grandfather missed him a lot. At that time, Murong Xiong had also told him her grandfather's name, but she couldn't recall it for a while. Now that Undead Lord said it, Long Fei remembered. Mu Tianhe faintly smiled as he looked at Long Fei, and said, "Child, don't be afraid. Are you really grandfather?" Long Fei's eyes lit up. Mu Tianhe nodded his head, and said, "Grandfather came late, and made you suffer." As he spoke, the corners of his eyes were somewhat wet. Right now, Long Fei only had half a life left. If he was a second later, he might not be able to see his nephew that he had been yearning for day and night for so long. He was against Mu Wanna marrying Long Zhanting once. But he could not change his daughter's insistence on marrying him. Later, when his nephew Long Fei appeared, if Long Zhanting wanted to seal a piece of seal into Long Fei's body, he was also opposed to it. He even wanted to snatch his precious nephew. But with his daughter's persistence and the fact that the dragon race's power had weakened too quickly and their internal organs had rotted, the only way for them to rise again was to break through and establish. Long Zhanting used the position of Dragon Clan's clan chief in exchange for Long Wushan's support. He placed all his hopes on Long Fei. Long Fei did not disappoint them. It had taken him no more than 100 years to climb from a low-level realm under the ancient world to the divine space. Just ask, who could do it? However, the difficulties he had to bear were way more than anyone else. Even if he had lived for 10,000 years, a person who had lived for hundreds of billions of years like the undead lord did not have as much pain as him. For this. The moment he saw Long Fei, the corners of Mu Tianha's eyes shone with tears. Long Fei herself was extremely excited. Humph! The undead lord coldly snorted, and said, Mu Tianha, I don't care what sort of relationship you have, either you K off right now, or you have Xian nationality destroy your god-living mountain. Mu Tianhe laughed coldly, and said, I, Mu Tianhe, am also not an ordinary person. The undead lord's gaze turned sinister as he said, You think I'm afraid of you? The reason he did not attack Long Fei was because he had to take out Long Fei's pubes without any interference, and that he needed some time. He could not be distracted during this time, or else his own cultivation would be affected. That was why he didn't try to force his way through. Now that Mu Tianhe had appeared, he had to kill him in order to take the next step. However, kill the leader of God-living mountain? A paragon? It was not that it was difficult, but rather extremely difficult. His cultivation was only at the same level as Mu Tianhe's, and with Mu Tianhe's control of spatial energy. His was still slightly weaker. Mu Tianhe laughed, Then what are you still saying? Come on, come and fuck this old man. The muscles at the corner of Undead Lord's eyes twitched, Let me see just how strong you are. As soon as he finished, Undead Lord turned his right hand. The immense power was like a flood dragon soaring through the sky. However, this power was not directed at Mu Tianhe, but Long Fei. He wanted to escape with Long Fei. Mu Tianhe frowned, the space around him started to tremble crazily, and within a 3,000-meter radius, all the space was reduced to pieces. The same was true for the ground, as though it could collapse at any time. He immediately began to unleash the powerful energy of a chief sovereign of space. Before Undead Lord's power could fall on Long Fei, Mu Tianhe's power of space had arrived first. It directly wrapped Long Fei up. The space surrounding Long Fei suddenly sunk, as though it had sunk into water. In the blink of an eye it disappeared from where it was. Undead Lord's eyes were blazing with anger. You dog, return him to me. Ah! Hualala! Hualala! 10,000 black crows rushed out from his body. Their blood-red pupils covered the entire sky and blocked out the sun. The heavenly flame blood crow. Mu Tianhe's gaze tensed up. These blood crows had extremely powerful destructive powers. Just one of them was enough to destroy a small plane. How many were there here? There were more than 10,000 of them. He wanted to kill Mu Tianhe. This is also a way to deal with the spatial controller. You can move space. Explode all the space before you move. One slash from a heavenly flame crow would require Undead Lord's 10,000 years of cultivation to refine one. This was his most powerful technique. He was going all out. The pubes in Long Fei's body was too strong. As long as he could get what he wanted, it was worth it. He had a powerful skill. Similarly, Mu Tianhe also had a big move. His body instantly blurred and then merged into the air. His fleshly body was space. Long Fei was still in this space. If all the heavenly flame blood crows exploded, Long Fei would die without a doubt. He had to protect his only nephew. Long Fei was wrapped in a special kind of space. He did not know what was happening outside, and could only hear the constant intense explosions. Long Fei was wrapped in a special kind of space. He did not know what was happening outside, and could only hear the constant intense explosions. The impact was huge. But in this special space, he didn't suffer any damage at all. Rumble. 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 The violent explosion lasted for half an hour before it stopped. Next, Long Fei acted like he was shuttling through time and space. The space he was in had suddenly sunk into the chaotic space flow, then suddenly emerged as if it had emerged from the bottom of the water. Huff! 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 Long Fei panted heavily a few times as the special space around him slowly disintegrated and disappeared without a trace. Mu Tianhe's face turned slightly pale, his breathing became ragged, and his collar was stained with blood. Seeing Long Fei, he immediately revealed a benevolent smile, and said, "Child, you were not injured, right?" Long Fei immediately stood up and said, "Grandfather, I'm fine." Looking at the blood on Mu Tianhe's chest, Long Fei asked, "Grandfather, are you injured?" Clearly, the blood on his collar was from his mouth. It must be an internal injury that was gushing out of his mouth. Mu Tianhe laughed, "I'm fine." While they were talking, Mu Tianhe retracted his consciousness, and after making sure that the undead lord did not catch up, and that his body could not take it anymore, he trembled slightly, and started to cough quickly. Cough cough. At the same time as he coughed, blood spurted out continuously from his mouth. His face was even paler. His hair was disheveled, and he looked as if he had aged a few decades. Long Fei immediately stepped forward to support Mu Tianhe. "Grandfather, you're severely injured." The corner of Mu Tianhe's mouth still had a smile as he said, "I'm fine, don't worry about me. A mere undead lord is unable to kill me." Facing the undead lord's attacks, if she did not go to protect Long Fei, she would not be able to harm him. However, in order to not let Long Fei get hurt, he used most of his defense to protect Long Fei. Even with half of his defense, he wouldn't be able to defend against the undead lord. After all, the undead lord was one of the 3 great sky sovereigns under the Emperor Xian. Super powerhouse. It was already a miracle that half of his defenses could survive. Long Fei could not help but clench his fist tightly, and said, "It's all because of me. If I were a little stronger, I would not have allowed grandfather." Mu Tianhe smiled slightly and said, "Foolish child, you are already very strong. To be able to step into the divine space in less than 100 years, you have already shocked many people." Long Fei asked, "Many people?" Mu Tianhe said, "I, your father Long Zhantian, and your mother." When he talked about his own daughter, Mu Tianhe's eyes went blank for a moment. It had been a long time since he'd seen his daughter, and he didn't even know where she was. He did not know whether his daughter was dead or alive. Long Fei said, "Grandfather, don't worry, mother is still alive. He once spoke to me in his sea of consciousness." He did not say anything else. At that time, Long Fei did not know who the woman was, but he was sure that the woman was his mother. It was just that after that moment of farewell, Long Fei's sea of consciousness had never appeared again. He was worried too. It was just that he did not say these out loud, as he did not want Mu Tianhe to be worried. Mu Tianhe was overjoyed and immediately asked, "Really?" He was glad to hear from his daughter. After all, Mu Wanna was the one he was most concerned about. Long Fei nodded his head, and said, "Ian, I will not lie to you, so you can rest assured." "Good, good, good." Mu Tianhe laughed and nodded. "I, Mu Tianhe's daughter, am definitely different. Ha ha ha. My nephew is even more different." The laughter was so intense that Zhong Xian coughed a few more times and black blood spurted out from his mouth. Mu Tianhe frowned. He thought to himself, "Only a heavenly flame blood crow with 10,000 years of cultivation can refine one. I never thought that its damage is so great. I've underestimated that undying monster." His injuries were far more severe than he had imagined. Moreover, now that he had fallen out with the Xian nationality, he had to hurry back to the God-living mountain. When Undead Lord returns to the Xian nationality, he will definitely make a move against the God-living mountain. Mu Tianhe grabbed Long Fei's hand and said, "Child, hold on tight, I'll bring you back to God-living mountain." Long Fei hesitated for a moment, then said, "Grandfather, I want to go save my wife." Liu Luoshi. He wanted to save her. However, he didn't dare ask Mu Tianhe to go with him. Mu Tianhe frowned and asked, "Your wife?" Long Fei said, "Grandfather, I can go by myself, but I must go because she is my wife. She has my child in her womb." Mu Tianhe's brows tightened even more, and said, "You already have a child? Then where is she?" Long Fei shook his head, and said, He was brought back to Xian nationality by a disciple of the Xian nationality. I do not know how far away I was from the Xian nationality. I have to go and save her. If I did not, she would definitely have died. The Xianlai mountain hated him to the bones. He would definitely beat Liu Luoxi to death. Liu Luoxi's temper was also violent. She would definitely resist. Moreover, under those circumstances, she would think that Long Fei would die, and at that time, she would also be courting death. If I don't know the location, I can't do anything about it. Child, we are very far from the Xian nationality divine mountain. With your current cultivation, even 10 years would not be enough. She has already been sent to Xian nationality. I'm afraid. Mu Tianhe didn't want Long Fei to die. He was too weak now. I know that you're too far away from saving your wife and children. However, you don't have to worry too much, because the moment Xian nationality knows about your relationship with you, she will be safe. Since Xian nationality will use her to threaten you, what you need to do now is to become stronger as soon as possible. Mu Tianhe analyzed it seriously. He wanted to bring Long Fei to learn the God-living mountain-ess. Once the news of Long Fei entering the divine space was announced by the Xian nationality, many ancient clan and rogue cultivator powerhouse would go crazy to find Long Fei. Other than the high bounty, even more people wanted to obtain Long Baishan's power from Long Fei's body. There were even some rumors that as long as someone could obtain the power within Long Fei's body, they would be able to become the #1 powerhouse. He was just like Long Batian back then. Just like the undead lord. He was Long Fei's grandfather. He had to protect his nephew and give Long Fei a safe place to cultivate. For him to be able to enter the divine space from a lowly plane in less than 100 years, that meant the divine space would definitely rise in a short period of time. He was the hope of the dragons. It was also his God-living mountain's hope. Long Fei looked into the distance, both his fists tightly clenching, his heart feeling extremely uncomfortable. That kind of intense unwillingness made him completely helpless. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Long Fei didn't have a choice. Long Fei didn't have a choice. He didn't even know where the Xian nationality divine mountain was now. So what if he knew? Now that he had lost the power of the ancient dragon body, lost his dragon soul, lost all his ancient power, he was just an ordinary 4th stage deity realm warrior. Even a 5th stage deity would want his life, not to mention so many powerhouse, old monsters who had lived for tens of thousands of years and hundreds of millions of years. Even if he went, he would only be throwing his life away. Besides, he couldn't go. He really couldn't accept it. But so what? This was the reality of this world. The weak were ants. Let's go, child. Follow me back to the God-living mountain. Mu Tianhe held Long Fei's hand, looked at the determination in Long Fei's eyes, and said, once you become stronger, you can kill your way towards Xian nationality. Long Fei nodded his head solemnly. Mu Tianhe released the qi on his body and formed a seal with one hand. In less than 3 seconds, a transmission array appeared out of thin air. The power of space was simply too great. However, Mu Tianhe's face became even more unsightly. The power within the spatial formation was not stable either. This kind of formation completely relied on the power of the person who formed the formation. Mu Tianhe's heart tensed up, and said, seems like I'll have to wait for death this time. And then, Mu Tianhe pulled Long Fei's hand and walked into the teleportation portal. With a flash of white light, the two disappeared. Then there was the undead lord. Knowing that Mu Tianhe had escaped with Long Fei, he burst into flames of fury. He howled crazily. The duck that was in his mouth flew away just like that. He really wasn't willing to accept this. Moreover, he dared to conclude that Long Fei's pubes was Long Baishan's power, because in that instant, he felt that the energy within Long Fei's pubes was just too strong. It was limitless, like the universe. If he could obtain this kind of pubes, then his cultivation would definitely soar, and he would be able to break through the highest shackles of ancient world, and even replace Emperor Xian. However, all of this just ran away. Undead Lord was unwilling. He took a step on the spot. Rumble. His figure seemed like it had teleported as he returned to the Xian nationality divine mountain in a short half a minute. Someone, come. Undead Lord said with a heavy voice, disciples of the God-slaughtering palace, come out. The God-slaughtering palace was the entrance to the Xian nationality's strongest battle force. The majority of Xian nationality's elites were inside. Similarly, it was also an expedition. It was specifically used to suppress other ancient families. The God-slaughtering hall was out in battle, a place where not even a blade of grass grew. Under normal circumstances, in the last 10,000 years, the God-slaughtering palace wouldn't fight, unless they met a strong opponent. But in the entire divine space, who would dare to provoke the Xian nationality? No one dared. Normally, he would just send a few elders to settle the matter, so he didn't need to deal with the elites of the God-slaughtering palace. Undead Lord was standing right in front of the gates of the God-slaughtering palace. The aura around his body was burning like a flame and had completely engulfed the surroundings of the God-slaughtering palace. In an instant, a large group of elders and disciples from the God-slaughtering palace walked out in a hurry. When an elder saw Undead Lord, he immediately bowed and said, "Lord Sky Sovereign, I wonder what has happened to anger you so much." Undead Lord didn't want to be long-winded and directly said, "I don't want to waste any more words right now. Immediately summon over all of the disciples of the God-slaughtering palace." The elder said, "Lord Sky Sovereign, you have to tell me what happened first, right?" Undead Lord grabbed the elder's collar and hoisted him straight up to the sky, saying solemnly, "I'll do whatever I tell you to do. If you dare to ask me any further, do you believe that I won't kill you?" He was enraged to the extreme. Moreover, the killing intent in his eyes was extremely strong. The elder's face paled from the pressure, but he did not do as he said. He struggled to speak, "Sky Sovereign, the disciples of the God-slaughtering hall are only under the orders of the Emperor Xian. Without his authority, no one can summon their entire disciples back. Come." Cluck, cluck. Undead Lord clenched his teeth so hard that his blood crackled and exploded. The anger in his heart grew even stronger as he said, "You're courting death." The flames from his body pounced towards the elder. The elder was engulfed by the flames, and in the next second, he would be reduced to smithereens. "Third brother. Stop." An old man dressed in a tiger robe came over in a flash. With a move of his power, he blocked the power of the Undead Lord and saved the elder. When Undead Lord saw the gaze of the tiger-robed man darken, he called out, "Second brother." The three great Sky Sovereigns of the Emperor Xian were ranked second. Sky Sovereign Huwu. He was also an old monster like the Undead Lord, who had lived for several trillion years. Sky Sovereign Huwu said, "Third brother, what has happened for you to be so angry?" Undead Lord said, "God Living Mountain's Mu Tianhe, that old bastard, actually stole my thing. I am taking my people to annihilate God Living Mountain now." He did not speak of Long Fei. Because he knew in his heart that the fewer people who knew about this, the better. Sky Sovereign Huwu said, "There's actually such a thing? What exactly did Mu Tianhe take away from you?" Undead Lord's gaze tensed up as he replied, "I need a treasure in order to cultivate." Sky Sovereign Huwu said, "Treasures? Can you be more precise?" Undead Lord said, "Second brother, I have been robbed. How can we, the three great Empireans, keep our face? What is Xian nationality's face? Today, I must eliminate the God-Living Mountain." He alone was not a match for Mu Tianhe. Only by using the power of the Xian nationality would he be able to crush the God-Living Mountain and force Mu Tianhe to hand over the person. He didn't believe that Mu Tianhe would use the entire Mu clan to exchange for that brat's life. The Sky Sovereign said, "Of course we have to get back at them, but the God-slaughtering palace really needs our boss's order. How about this? I will follow you to the God-Living Mountain." He had his own plans. Undead Lord had never said what a treasure was, and it was very suspicious. Adding on to that, what kind of treasure did the Xian nationality want? What kind of treasure could cause Undead Lord to be so angry? This thing must be extraordinary. Sky Sovereign Huwu wanted to know what it was. He and the Undead Lord were the same. Their cultivation had already fallen into a bottleneck and they were at the highest level in the entire ancient world. His longevity was also constantly being reincarnated in order to maintain its immortality. If he could break through the shackles of ancient world, then it wouldn't be so arduous. The undead lord said solemnly, "Second brother, since you are so busy every day, I won't bother you any longer. Since the boss of the god-slaughtering palace has already given the order, I don't need to trouble you any further. I've already thought it through. I've lost face for the Xian nationality, so I should take it back myself. Don't worry. I will definitely get back at you." Finished. The undead lord did not stay either. His figure flashed and he immediately disappeared from his original position. The space between Empyrean Huwu's eyebrows tightened. Undead Lord didn't go anywhere else, but went to the divine gate of the Xian nationality's divine mountain. Xian nationality knew that there was still one more person. He had to deal with this person. Has Xianlai Mountain returned? The two Xian nationality disciples immediately shook their heads and replied, reporting to Sky Sovereign, "I didn't see young Master Lai Mountain returning. He didn't come back. Logically speaking, he should have arrived a long time ago." Undead Lord felt that it was strange. Could it be that something happened on the way here? If he wanted to hide the fact that Long Fei had entered the divine space, then he couldn't let the Xianlai Mountain appear in the Xian nationality. If he wanted to hide the fact that Long Fei had entered the divine space, then he couldn't let the Xianlai Mountain appear in the Xian nationality. Then again, the woman in Xianlai Mountain's hands was very important to Long Fei. If he could get this woman to use her to threaten him, it would be even easier. He did not want to miss Long Fei. He had to get Long Fei's pubes. Thus, Undead Lord flew out. It was just that. Looking around, he didn't see any signs of Xianlai Mountain. Even when he flew to the place where the sky gate was opened, he still did not see the figure of the Xianlai Mountain. Something really happened. Who in ancient world would dare to touch a person who possesses the Xian nationality's direct descendant, the blood vein? Undead Lord frowned. To dare to make a move on the direct disciple of the blood vein would mean declaring war on the Xian nationality. In the entire ancient world, no one had ever dared to do such a thing. If nothing had happened to him, then where had Xianlai Mountain gone to? You can't just disappear from the face of the earth, can you? The undead lord was very suspicious, and in the blink of an eye, he had already flown to the Xian nationality's divine mountain and asked the gatekeeping elder. He didn't come back. Under those circumstances, it is impossible for Xianlai Mountain to go anywhere else. If he still hasn't come back, then something will definitely happen. He is really that bold to dare attack the direct disciple of the blood vein of the Xian nationality. Someone from the God-living mountain? That's unlikely. Mu Tianhe doesn't know anything about that woman, so it's impossible for him to save her. There must be someone else. Who could it be? Or do you want to use her to threaten Long Fei? Undead Lord's gaze tensed up. His pair of eyes were like that of an old fox as they slightly turned. I don't care. Since he has entered the divine space, there will definitely be a lot of people who will know about it in the future. Since I can't use the power of the god-slaughtering palace, then I'll use my own power. Undead Lord's figure moved, disappearing in a flash. He had lived for several trillion years. Although he was one of the three great sky sovereigns of the Xian nationality, he still had his own power to support him. He wanted to bring someone to the God-living mountain. He had to take Long Fei down. To him, the entire ancient world only had one chance, Long Fei. He would not let this chance go, no matter what price he had to pay. After the undead lord disappeared, looking at the direction he had disappeared in, the elder muttered, third brother, what are you trying to do? Just what did you get snatched away to make you so angry?" Zhongxian's finger moved slightly. A black shadow separated from his body. His face was invisible and formless, he was just a mass of black shadow. "Nonfei's great law," Sky Sovereign Huwu said, "follow him." The black shadow disappeared from where it stood. Rumble, rumble, rumble. From somewhere within the divine space, a sonic boom could be heard. Purple light constantly flashed from the thick clouds, as if the sky had changed. Explosions could be heard in the clouds. Suddenly, the malevolent dragon head stuck its head out from the clouds. A divine dragon. A divine dragon at the level of Holy Dragon Emperor. His entire body was suffused with a purple glow, which illuminated half of the sky. He was a purple dragon. It could also be said to be Long Wushan's original body. Long Wushan's head exploded, otherwise Long Fei would have killed him, but his body would have been devoured by the purple dragon, and all the treasures on his body would have been devoured by the purple dragon as well, including the dragon soul in Long Fei's sea of consciousness. The power from the purple dragon was continuously released. It was as if he was in intense pain, as if he was experiencing some sort of calamity. It was rolling and roaring in the clouds. The dragon roar shook the entire area. Within a radius of tens of millions of kilometers, all the ashes had been crushed into black powder by the power of the purple dragon. "Give me back my body. Give me back my body. Bastard, do you want to rebel?" Fury erupted from the purple dragon's body. The voice belonged to none other than Long Wushan, whose head had been blown off. Although his head was blown off, the purple dragon was his original body. As long as his original body wasn't destroyed and his soul wasn't destroyed, he could reform his body. Then he would be able to live again. In the past, his body had also been destroyed. But now, he could use the original body of the purple dragon to rebuild it. But this time, no matter how angry Long Wushan was, the purple dragon would not obey, and would not let Long Wushan rebuild his fleshly body's power. "Zilong, you are nothing without me. You are just a rotten bug. Only I can give you unparalleled glory. Hurry up and help me rebuild my body. I want to go find that brat Long Fei. Once I have his pubes, my strength will be invincible, and at that time, the glory will also belong to you. Hurry up." Long Wushan was very anxious. He had never thought that his original body would be in trouble. The purple dragon had always been under his control, listening to his commands. But this time, he didn't know why it had become like this. He actually couldn't control it. He was very angry. He was furious, but at this moment, he could only suppress the anger in his heart. That was because the purple dragon was his only chance to reconstruct his body. Zilong did not reply, and actively shook Long Wushan off. Long Wushan said solemnly, "What exactly do you want? Could it be that you want to go to heaven? Or should I say, you have your eyes on the dragon soul?" S heart sank when he talked about dragon soul, and he started to feel fear. This dragon soul was not ordinary. It could be the dragon soul of the dragon clan's ancestor, Long Batian. Whoever obtains it will have the strongest power of the dragon soul. But the purple dragon had its own dragon soul. With one dragon soul, it wouldn't be able to fuse with a second dragon soul. Then what do I need the dragon soul for? Long Wushan could not understand, and said, "The dragon soul is of no use to you at all. You cannot fuse them. Furthermore, I have carefully examined it. The dragon soul does not have the power of the dragon clan's ancestor. It is just an ordinary dragon soul. It is useless. The strength of the dragon clan's ancestor is definitely in that kid's pubes. If you want me to reconstruct my body, I will definitely do it. If you want to split the family when the time comes, we'll split it, each of us." Long Wushan kept talking. However, the purple dragon simply didn't care. Because, at this moment, there was another voice in Zilong's mind. It completely controlled its voice. Roar! Roar! The roar of a dragon wreaked havoc as the purple dragon continuously writhed. Long Wushan suffered an intense bombardment within his body, to the point where half of his body was on the verge of being destroyed. Most importantly, his soul was in danger. If he couldn't reform his body, he might really die. Long Wushan said in dissatisfaction, "Why? Why? Can you let me die?" He could not think of any reason why Violet Dragon would do this. It was at this moment. The purple dragon suddenly spoke, "Because you are not fit to have the dragon soul, because you are not qualified, because you are just a chess piece in my plan, why do you think the nails for suppressing dragons appeared, and why do you think the nails for suppressing dragons was able to take out the dragon so? Was it a coincidence? You think you can do it? Humph. It's just a chess piece. Rumble." With a roar, Long Wushan's body completely vanished. Long Wushan died with grievance. Long Wushan died with grievance. He didn't even know why Zilong would say such a thing. He didn't know why the purple dragon had turned out like this. His original body had actually betrayed him. Even at the moment of his death, he still couldn't figure it out. With Long Wushan's death, all of the treasures on his body were left in the body of the purple dragon. A small black bottle stood out. The power within the purple dragon's body surged forth and directly sucked the black bottle within. And then, a voice sounded from within Zilong's body. "All right, it's time to head to the Ashura's abyss. Emperor Xian should be arriving soon." Without stopping, the purple dragon turned and flew directly to the northernmost area of the divine space, where the ancient Ashura was located in the abyss. It was also the burial ground for Long Batian, and then there was Long Fei. Mu Tianhe used his last bit of energy to activate the teleportation circle. When the two of them appeared at the location of the God-Living Mountain's teleportation circle, Mu Tianhe's body sank and he became unsteady. If not for Long Fei's support, he would have already fallen to the ground. "Grandfather." Mu Tianhe immediately smiled faintly and said, "I'm fine. Long Fei, from now on, you cannot reveal your identity. You can't call me Long Fei anymore. From now on, your name is Mu Fei and you are your first uncle Murong Xiong's illegitimate child." Mu Tianhe said with a serious face. Long Fei's name resounded throughout the entire ancient world, not because the name was strong, but because everyone was looking for the owner of the name. In the normal plane, this was true even in the divine space. Because the legend became more and more godly. Long Fei was the reincarnation of Long Batian. Whoever could obtain the power in Long Fei's body could become the strongest person in the ancient world. The appearance of the undead lord was the best proof. Even an Empyrean like him was coveting the power within Long Fei's body. Of the other clans and powerhouse, who wouldn't want to obtain it? No one wanted to be stepped on by others. Everyone wanted to be the best. Xian nationality had been the boss for so many years, everyone wanted to overthrow him. However, strength was everything. In the ancient world, there was no power that could stand above the Xian nationality. There was only Long Fei. Only the former number one powerhouse, Long Batian, was capable of such strength. Thus, Long Fei was the key. Be it outside or inside the God-Living Mountain, Long Fei's identity could not be revealed. Long Fei understood his grandfather's meaning in his heart, and nodded, "I'll listen to grandfather." He had a bad feeling about this. He really couldn't accept it. The weak will be beaten. With his current cultivation, forget about the Emperor Xian, he couldn't even kill an elder from there. Not only would exposing his identity bring danger to himself, it would also bring danger to the God-Living Mountain. Long Fei was very clear about this in his heart. Mu Tianhe's reaction made Mu Tianhe feel gratified. He patted Long Fei's shoulder and said, "When you're strong enough, you can use your original name." Long Fei nodded and said, "En. But, grandfather, regarding Undead Lord and the Xian nationality." Mu Tianhe said, "You do not have to worry about that. The Undead Lord will definitely not mention that you have entered the divine space when he wants to obtain the power in your body, and the disciple that escaped will definitely not let him live, so the news of you entering the divine space will not spread." Mu Tianhe was very clear of all of this. Someone like the Undead Lord would never reveal Long Fei's whereabouts, but he did. Undead Lord was an old monster who had lived for thousands of billions of years after all. What he needed to do now was defend. To prevent attacks from the Undead Lordess. One more thing. Mu Tianhe continued, "I am not able to take care of you in the God-Living Mountain, and your uncle's identity as the illegitimate child is not able to bring you convenience. He might even suffer the humiliation of many of the Mu clan's clansmen, so you can only rely on yourself. If he protected Long Fei too much, it would attract the suspicion of everyone. Moreover, growth can only be best through your own hard work, others cannot help." The entire divine space knew the name Long Fei, but who had ever seen him? Other than the Undead Lord, there was no one else. Long Fei still nodded and said, "I understand." Mu Tianhe smiled with gratitude, and said in his heart, "Child, it's been hard on you. I've been carrying such a heavy burden since I was young." Sigh. Mu Tianhe felt his heart ache. But right now, there was no other way, he could only let Long Fei hide himself. "All right. People should be coming soon. Just follow behind me," don't talk. Mu Tianhe said indifferently, after which his face started to turn ice cold. Just as he said. The people of Mu clan quickly rushed over. Old patriarch, where did you go? Mu Hertai replied respectfully. Mu Tianhe said indifferently, come, Xiao Fei, come and get to know him. This is the great elder of the God-living mountain. He will manage all the affairs of the God-living mountain. He is. Mu Tianhe glanced at Long Fei, and let out a heavy sigh. Who deserves to die? Why haven't you played it enough? When will you be able to understand something? How many have there been? Everyone was taken aback. Mu Hertai already knew Long Fei's identity, but he still asked, who is he? Mu Tianhe said, he is the illegitimate child of Xiong'er. His small clan suffered some troubles and was brought back here by me. His name is Mu Fei. Xiao Fei, call me Great Elder. Long Fei took a step forward, bowed with both hands, and said respectfully, Great Elder. Mu Hertai revealed a faint smile, and said, young master, you're too courteous. After all, he was Murong Xiong's son, Mu Tianhe's grandson. There was not much respect in his eyes. In terms of seniority, he was Murong Xiong's uncle, so Long Fei should also call him grandfather. And then again, Murong Xiong's illegitimate child could be said to be dozens of large and small. It didn't matter even if there was even one more. Mu Tianhe said, this child never had a mother since young, and is only a child who suffered greatly. From now on, you must take more care of him. Also, notify me that I want to go into seclusion. If you meet any enemies, immediately withdraw from the God-living mountain and enter the Turtle Mountain. This announcement startled all the people from Mu clan present. Mu Tianhe wanted to close the gate of death. How could this be? Once he went into closed-door cultivation, who in the Mu clan would care? Although Mu Hertai was in charge of all the big and small affairs, they were all in Mu Tianhe's hands. Murong Xiong didn't come back. The second young master, Murong Qi, had disappeared a long time ago. As for third young Miss Mu Wana, she had not appeared for many years. With such a big God-living mountain, who would take care of it? Mu Hertai's eyes flashed, and he said, Big brother, you are in closed-door cultivation, what about this God-living mountain? Mu Tianhe said indifferently, for the time being, it is up to you to manage. Important decisions will be decided by the referee pavilion after discussion, but there is one thing you must remember. If you encounter a strong enemy that you cannot resist, you must immediately withdraw from the God-living mountain and enter the Turtle Mountain to wait for the right time. Do you understand? After giving out all the instructions, Mu Tianhe did not stop and walked into the depths of God-living mountain alone. After giving out all the instructions, Mu Tianhe did not stop and walked into the depths of God-living mountain alone. No one knew the exact location of his seclusion. If he didn't come out, no one would be able to find him. He grasped the power of space, and this was also the power of the Mu clan. The place Mu Tianhe was at could be said to be extremely hidden, and even if the Emperor Xian came over, he might not be able to find it. After Mu Tianhe entered the deep mountains to train, he was also brought back to God-living mountain. After arranging a small courtyard for him, other than the disciples who brought him food, he did not see a single person from the Mu clan for 3 days straight. Mu Tianhe went into closed-door cultivation while Mu Hertai took charge of the overall situation. He had been busy these past few days discussing various matters. Moreover, the Judgment Pavilion had changed quite a few of their elders. Long Fei was not considered free in his small courtyard. In the past 3 days, he had been researching striking system. The only thing he could rely on now was the power of the system. They needed to thoroughly study it before they could make use of it, especially the attribute of striking value. 100 points is enough to activate Berserk. Killing people should be able to acquire a bit of striking value, but killing monsters should also be possible. But I can only accumulate 100 points at once, so I can't accumulate any more Berserk energy. Long Fei pondered, I have to make good use of him in the future. It would be best to use it on the boss. The items dropped by the boss are even better. Thinking about the boss reminded Long Fei of the Emperor Xian. He should be my strongest boss in ancient world, right? Long Fei secretly clenched his fists, and when he thought of Liu Luoshi, his heart once again ached. For 3 consecutive nights, he kept dreaming about Liu Luoshi. Strangely enough, in the dream, Liu Luoshi kept telling him that she was fine and that she didn't need to worry. There were no Xian nationality people by her side. The dream was beautiful, but Long Fei couldn't believe it. Who in the divine space dared to offend the Xian nationality? It could be said that no ancient family would have the guts to stop Liu Luoshi on his way back to the Xian nationality. Liu Luoshi might already be at the Xian nationality's divine mountain. Are you all right? I'm sorry. Long Fei's heart was twitching. It was very, very uncomfortable. No matter how hard you feel, you can't always live in pain. To be beaten, to be scolded, to be stepped on, to work hard to become stronger, to get everything back. The dragon soul was destroyed and the power of the dragon completely disappeared. Having lost his strongest backing, Long Fei was not discouraged, and did not compromise. As long as he was alive, he had a chance. He believed in himself. He also believed in the system. In the past few days, other than researching the system, he was also constantly exploring the star relate to Dantian. The dragon soul did not shock Long Wushan, but his pubes did. It was obvious that his own pubes was stronger. It was just that. He still knew nothing about the power within his own star relate to Dantian. It was as if he had a body full of energy, but he could not bring it out. This was the most painful thing he could do. It was obvious that the power inside his pubes was very strong, but he just did not know how to use it. Pubes, the source of power. Ordinary cultivator holy source would erupt from within the pubes. Long Fei had also cultivated ordinary things before, and the energy would also burst out from within the pubes. Using this common method was to not release the power from the pubes. Facing this star relate to Dantian, he was stupefied. Although God's Pavilion had used the power of the pubes to cast Fierce Emperor's soul, he did not know how to make Long Fei use it. Dragon Quang knew nothing about the star relate to Dantian and was unable to help Long Fei. Long Fei could only rely on himself to feel around, as though he was walking in the darkness. Huff! Long Fei's eyes opened, and after sensing for a whole week, his pubes was not able to absorb any heaven and earth holy source, and his cultivation had not increased at all. The experience points did not move. This also meant that his comprehension of the holy source did not improve at all. Be it his strength or speed, they were all part of his original attributes. This was not the first time Long Fei had gained insights like this, but the results were all the same. Thus, he got the result: ordinary training is no longer of any help to me, the system has been reset. If I want to level up, I'll have to use experience to do so. That's good too. Save the time to meditate and cultivate. But Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief, stood up, looked around, and asked, "Where is the demon beast that I should kill? Without demon beast, how can I level up? Murder. Where is the killing? We can't kill all of grandfather's family, can we?" Long Fei laughed bitterly. Obviously, this was impossible. However, Long Fei knew that he couldn't continue like this. He hadn't broken through for 3 days straight and had completely wasted 3 days. He was still thinking about when he could reach the Xian nationality divine mountain. I need to find a place to train. Long Fei locked the space between his brows. At this time, the disciple that brought them food walked into the small courtyard. Other than him, there was also a middle-aged man. The man was slightly fat and had a beard that reached the sky at the corners of his mouth. He walked into the courtyard and looked at Long Fei. "You are Mu Fei?" Long Fei looked at him and said, "I am." The middle-aged man coldly said, "Another bastard." Long Fei frowned. "Try saying that again." The middle-aged man sneered, and said, "Brat, do you really think you're the young master of Mu clan? Your uncle Murong Xiong has countless illegitimate children, so he brought one back today and another one back tomorrow. Each and every one of them is a muggle. Kid, you probably don't know this, but when you were on your way to Mu clan, an elder had already checked on your talent. Useless. You can only reach the divine moon realm at most." When he followed Mu Hatai back to the Mu clan, a few elders used the idea to sense his body. He didn't expect to be testing his talent at that time. He smiled wryly in his heart, to think that I've become a waste again. Ha ha. Regardless of which world it was, cultivators all emphasized on talent. And his current talent was indeed not very good. But, did he rely on his talent? Not really. Long Fei smiled faintly and did not argue. The middle-aged man asked, "What are you laughing about?" Long Fei replied, "Nothing." The middle-aged man let out another cold snort, and his aura abruptly spread out. Wang. A buzz. The might of the 8th stage of the God of Heaven realm immediately grinded onto Long Fei's mind. Long Fei's body sank and his knees trembled, unable to hold on any longer. The middle-aged man walked forward and coldly stared at Long Fei. "Brat, this is the God-living mountain, not your lowly clan. Don't say that you're young Master Mu's illegitimate son. Even if you're his son that was born in the Mu clan and doesn't have the strength, you better listen to me obediently. Understood?" Although Long Fei was unhappy, he could not find an excuse to retort. No matter what your identity is, wherever you are, strength was everything. Strength was everything. Strength was everything. The powerhouse was revered, the strong preyed on the weak. This was the law of the jungle. It didn't matter which plane they were in. Long Fei said solemnly, "Understood." Humph. The middle-aged man retracted his breath and said, "It's good that you understand." And then, the middle-aged man glanced at the disciple who was delivering the food to him. The serving disciple held a tray in his hand. On the tray was a set of clothes, a space ring that was unique to Mu clan, and a white jade plate with the word Mu carved on it. "This is your identity plate." The middle-aged man's tone became much warmer and he said, "My name is Mu Dafu, you can call me Eunuch Mu. If not for your identity, Mu clan would definitely not have let you live. Since you were allowed to live, you must work hard to support yourself, and from today on, you will have to start from the very beginning. Let the servants begin." "Servants?" Long Fei was startled. Mu Dafu glared at him, his tone becoming ice-cold again. "What? Not satisfied?" Long Fei immediately said, "Satisfied, satisfied." Mu Dafu continued, "How many people with greater talent than you are kneeling in God-living mountain, begging to become servants?" Long Fei said, "Yes, yes, yes." He didn't want to argue with him. He didn't want to waste that drool. Mu Dafu continued to speak, "You are in charge of cleaning the 3 courtyards every day and you must clean every single day. If I find out that you have been slacking or that you have not cleaned properly, the consequences would be much worse than what you imagined. In addition, Mu clan has set his eyes on service disciples. Every day, I will enter the training grounds for 2 hours. However, I must finish what I have to do. Do you understand?" Long Fei said again, "Understood, understood." Mu Dafu said, "It's good that you understand, you can ask him if there's anything you don't understand. Also, even though you are the eldest young master's illegitimate child, you have not yet been recognized by the Mu clan. Especially the cultivation techniques cultivated by the Mu clan disciples in the training grounds." Long Fei nodded again, "Yes, yes. Alright, ask him if he has anything you don't understand." Seeing how obedient Long Fei was, Mu Dafu did not refute him at all. This was slightly different from the other illegitimate children who had just arrived in the Mu clan. Usually, when the bastards knew that they were the young masters of Mu clan, they would be so arrogant and domineering. They would want to ride on your head and take a piss, and they would have the time to listen to your nonsense. Servants. Cleaning up. Only 2 hours of cultivation a day. No monthly quests yet. Don't make too much of a fuss. However, normally, this kind of person would suffer from a beating or starvation for a few days, and then behave. Long Fei was one of the few who was calm and rational. Of course, Long Fei was also not Murong Xiong's illegitimate child, he did not want to waste his time arguing with him. After Mu Dafu left, that disciple immediately came forward and said, "Mu Fei, that's how head supervisor Mu is. He's very strict, but he's a good person. The reason why I released my aura earlier was to show you my power, to make you behave yourself. I never thought you would not resist." I have seen other private matters that have just entered the Mu clan. Even the young master would resist, but the outcome would be terrible. Come, these are yours. There's only one set of clothes. You should put it on first. Space Ring can store a lot of things, and there is also a spatial positioning system. The moment there is a danger, the alarm will be issued. This is used during the normal assessment. The elders can come to rescue us, but we basically don't need it. The most important thing is this jade tablet. The rank of Mu clan is very clear. We servants are all white jade medallions. On the web, it is green, and no matter how blue it is blue. Even if our surname is not Mu, we are still recognized by the Mu clan, and beyond that is purple. They are either direct disciples or some elders. When they see these people, they immediately step aside. The purple jade token is a blood-red jade token. Only the elders of the Judgment Pavilion are qualified to wear it. The highest rank is the black jade token. It is a high-ranking elder. As for the chief, that's a black jade tablet, the one and only kind. You have to remember this. What kind of identity is this jade plate? I have to remember them all. He said this carefully. If he could figure this out, he would be able to avoid getting into any critical points, so that no one would know who he was going to offend. Long Fei nodded his head. I will remember. Thank you, senior brother. Mu Yun scratched his head and laughed very happily. This was the first time someone called him senior brother, and this taste was really delightful. My name is Mu Yun, a sixth stage of the God Realm, my inherent skill. It's also of a lower grade. Speaking of talent, Mu Yun was not very confident. It was also because of his talent that he became a lowly servant. He himself was a disciple of a side branch of the Mu clan. His blood vein was not pure, but at least he was a disciple of the Mu clan. Being mixed in like this was indeed a bit tragic. As he spoke, Mu Yun stretched out his right hand. If you have anything to say, feel free to come find me. I know quite a few people in the eastern district of Mu clan. Long Fei reached out his right hand to grab it. Thank you, senior brother. Senior brother, I really do have something that I want to ask. Long Fei immediately asked. Senior brother called Mu Yun in a very comfortable manner, and immediately said, if there's anything you want to say. Long Fei said, where do we find demon beast around here? Mu Yun immediately laughed. What? Scared? I told you that the God-living mountain's demon beast was fierce. As the older generation has said, the God-living mountain is a large special space, and the demon beast inside all come from another space. No one knows what kind of demon beast we will meet. All of them are very powerful. All of these were nothing to Long Fei. He just wanted to know where the demon beast were killed. Where are the demon beast? Mu Yun laughed and said, you're asking the right person. I'm very familiar with this place. Very safe, no demon beast. Long Fei. He felt depressed in his heart. No demon beast. Then what the *CK are you doing? Long Fei continued to ask, where is the demon beast? Mu Yun said, the Mu clan is divided into the north, south, east and north, and we are in the east, which is also the first region. The people that live here are mostly the outer disciples of the Mu clan. With weaker cultivations, it is also relatively safer. If you're talking about demon beast, that's something that only appears in south area, but it's not many. Long Fei asked, so you're saying that the further you go, the more dangerous it becomes? Mu Yun nodded his head and said, demon beast and people are the same. The aura of the holy source in the area behind us is a little thicker. Of course they are in that kind of place. Why do you ask? Without the permission of the head supervisor, no one is allowed to leave the East District. If they are caught, then they will be punished by 30 staff, and all of their asses will have flowers blooming. Long Fei nodded, and said, I understand. He was getting excited in his heart. There's a place to level up. As long as Demon Beast were to be killed, Long Fei would definitely go to the most dangerous place. As long as Demon Beast were to be killed, Long Fei would definitely go to the most dangerous place. There was nothing more important than leveling up now. However, to go outside to hunt Demon Beast, he had to complete his own quest. The next day, it was still dark. Mu Yun took the broom to Long Fei's small courtyard early in the morning. Let's go, I'll take you to the East 3 courtyard. He had just finished. The system beeped. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the cleansing quest. Task reward, 500 experience, 500 holy source value, 1 rank 1 holy source pill. Daily quest. Long Fei moved, accept. Right now, he needed 150,000 experience points to level up. He couldn't afford to miss any of the experience. After accepting the mission, Long Fei followed Mu Yun to the 3 eastern academies. The biggest one in the east of the 4 main districts of Mu clan. The disciples of the other branches and disciples with outer appearances were all here. Thousands of people lived there. The entire East District was like a small town. The streets, shops, training rooms, everything was there. Long Fei followed behind Mu Yun, his mind still thinking about how to hunt demon beastess. Mu Yun said, "Junior brother Fei, the East 3 courtyard consists of 3 courtyards. One is the residence, the other is the training grounds and the other is the Pill Institute. There are many people coming in and out of the training room and the Pill Academy every day. In the living quarters. When the time comes, you will be able to see many beautiful senior sister, especially Mu Yao. She is really beautiful, she is my goddess, but her cultivation is at the 9th level of the heaven, and her cultivation is at the 9th level of the heaven. Furthermore, you have a high-level inherent skill, so you should be able to enter the south area during this year's examination." Mu Yun sighed softly. Mu Yao was his goddess in his heart. As long as he could see it, he would never dare to have any illusions. Because he knew his own strength. How could a person with such a low-level inherent skill be worthy of a goddess like Mu Yao? As far as he was concerned, he would be satisfied if he could only look at her from afar. As for Mu Yao, she didn't even know him. Long Fei didn't listen at all. His mind was not on this. Mu Yun's eyes were filled with loneliness, as he muttered, "If only I could also enter the south area." Long Fei replied, "Then let's go to the south area." Mu Yun laughed bitterly and said, "All of south area's service disciples require medium talent. People with low-level talent like me will never be able to enter south area in my life." Long Fei was startled for a moment. What he had said just now was to let Mu Yun pass the examination to become a disciple of the south area, but what he was thinking about was actually becoming a service disciple of the south area. Long Fei said, "Have you ever thought about participating in the assessment?" Mu Yun was stunned. He looked at Long Fei and said, "Junior brother Mu Fei, you, how dare you say those words?" Long Fei asked, "What's wrong?" Mu Yun said, "Let's not talk about whether we have the qualifications to participate in the assessment. Even if we do, we will still be unable to pass. There are only 3 spots per year. Do you know how difficult this is? It's even harder than ascending to heaven. Also, we, the service disciples, are not qualified to participate in the exam, unless..." The hierarchy of Mu clan was extremely strict. If you are an ant, you have to crawl on the ground. Long Fei asked, "Unless what?" Mu Yun laughed bitterly and said, "There is no exception, because that is impossible. How could a lowly, gifted service disciple complete an A-class mission? Even a formal disciple wouldn't be able to do it. Let's not even think about it. In Mu clan, there are no service disciples who can complete an A-rank mission on their own. Junior brother Mu Fei, don't think too much. I know that martial practitioners should constantly improve themselves and advance bravely on the path of cultivation. But we have to accept our fate. Our low-level talent is a destiny given by the heavens." Mu Yun said very seriously. He had refused to accept his fate. However, the result of not accepting his fate was that he was still a service disciple. "Accept your fate." Long Fei slightly curled the corner of his mouth, and thought, "I, Long Fei, have never accepted fate. I will take my life. If I had to accept fate, I would have died a long time ago." For Long Fei to accept his fate, he might as well have died earlier. What is life? Life was in his hands, and any choice would change. Senior sister Mu Yao, my goddess. Sigh. Mu Yun let out a long sigh, looking like he was really sad. Not long after, The two of them arrived at the East 3 courtyard. First to practicing courtyard. Mu Yun said, "First, clean this place every day. You must clean this place quickly because the senior brother S must train in the morning and not waste their time. Another point, and the most important point. You mustn't peek at the senior brother cultivating. The pill institution is the same as well. The residences of the senior sister are even worse off. You must remember this. Mu clan is especially strict in this area." Mu Yun reminded her heavily. Long Fei nodded, and said, "Understood." He was not the least bit interested in the cultivation technique of the Mu clan disciples. As for alchemy, he was once the possessor of the ancient alchemy technique. Although he did not have the ancient power now, his alchemy was still present. "I'm afraid no alchemy master can enter his eyes yet." Finally, the women. What kind of woman hadn't Long Fei seen before, and slept with? How many girls from Mu clan could enter his eyes? Even if Mu Yun was just talking about Mu Yarrow, he wouldn't be able to do anything. He was thinking about one thing. Upgrade. Mu Yun said, "Just remember this, you go clean up, I need to help out at the martial pavilion." Long Fei walked into the practicing courtyard with a broom. At this moment, it was still dark inside the practicing courtyard. However, it did not hinder the sweeping. Long Fei looked at the practicing courtyard, which was a small-scale martial arts training field. It was just that all the floor was filled with floor tiles, as well as some special cultivation tools. In the distance, there was a 2-story building. Only the disciples with green tags were qualified to enter the training room. There were also teachers who were there to give them pointers. However, the door was tightly locked, and no service disciples were allowed to enter. Long Fei walked into the courtyard without thinking too much about it, and immediately swept the floor. Voila! Voila! He felt like the earliest sanitation worker in his previous life, cleaning the streets. "I didn't expect myself to have gotten this far." Sigh. Long Fei, oh Long Fei, you are truly a tragedy. Long Fei laughed bitterly in his heart. He never thought that he would become an environmental worker. However, Long Fei never looked down on himself. So what if he was born low? The system is in my hands, the world is mine. Right now, he was only missing one demon beast. Long Fei increased his tempo. He was completely focused on sweeping the floor. Suddenly, a clear shout came from the darkness not far away. Ha! A wave of energy blasted out. Buzz! Buzz! The power exploded out with a loud rumble. Long Fei trembled slightly, and looked ahead. His strength struck a wooden stake made of a special material. The wooden stake exploded into 8 sounds in succession. Bang, 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 bang. Explosions could be heard from 8 parts of the wooden stake. It could be said to be quite violent. One hit, 8 echoes. It could be said that if one were to use one's strength to its utmost, one's strength would be split into 8, and one would receive 8 severe injuries. If one were to use its loudness to measure the strength of the attack, the part that was lacking was that after the 4th echo, it would become weaker. The last 2 echoes were only sounds of form, and the strength did not explode, but was at least 5 times weaker than before the first echo. In other words, the last few echoes had no power at all. This was a flaw in the beauty of the world. However, to be able to split one force into 8 was already quite good. Long Fei was not a grandmaster in strength. However, he cultivated in the tens of thousands of layers of profound arts, and adding on the ancient dragon body's power that he had previously cultivated in, he was the ancestor of power, so when he heard of this power, he could immediately see through it. He could not help but blurt out, "One is divided into 8, but his strength is not enough. It's a pity." With that, he regretted his decision. What was he in the Mu clan? Just a handyman. Furthermore, he did not want to do anything else in Mu clan, he only wanted to take a temporary rest, and leave after he recovered his level increase. He definitely could not hide the fact that he was Long Fei for long, and did not want to implicate his grandfather's family. Now, the entire dragon race was gone. If the Emperor Xian launched an attack on him, it was very likely that he would end up like the Dragon Vein Mountain and be completely destroyed. It was just that. Just as he finished speaking, a crisp voice came from the darkness. "What do you know?" The voice was a bit young and tender, and a bit clear. It was hard to tell if it was male or female. Long Fei said, "Sorry, I spoke too much." After he finished speaking, Long Fei continued to sweep his surroundings, not looking at the person in the darkness. Not long later, another 8 consecutive explosions could be heard from the wooden stake in the darkness. Just like last time, the next few echoes were still as weak as before. This time Long Fei did not speak further. However, a rough model was formed in his mind. It was the movements when exerting force, followed by the circulation of his strength. He didn't know why. The system interface in his mind naturally appeared. It was as if he would know what kind of cultivation technique it was after listening to it once. What's going on? Can it be that he is able to listen to the sound analysis technique? Does this striking system have this kind of ability? Why didn't I see that? Long Fei did not find any of this in the system, but in his mind, there was a model of the system interface. It was different from the person in the darkness. The model in the system released a uniform amount of force. Furthermore, the power contained in the sound was very perfect without any flaws. The circulation of his power, the points of departure, the points of landing, the coordination of all the muscles of his body, were like slow movements, replaying in Long Fei's mind. It was very clear. This cultivation technique was perfectly explained. Why did this happen? Long Fei did not know either. However, he didn't care about all that, he just continued sweeping his own land. It would not be long before the sun rose. He had to finish it before daybreak, or else he would be punished. Bam! Another heavy blow. The wooden stake emitted another 8 sounds. Not much. Bam! Another strike. The person in the darkness seemed to be in a bit of a rage. He frantically attacked in an attempt to prove himself, but, just as Long Fei said, the last 2 echoes basically had no power. To be able to practice this cultivation technique to such a level was already quite amazing. However, to a true expert, not being able to display the power of 8 echoes was nothing but a dream. Because the 8 echoes in his body would form a resonance, causing internal damage to the enemy. If the 2 energies did not reach his body, then the damage would be too little. It was useless. She was very anxious. He had practiced this cultivation technique for 3 years. He had been working hard for the past 3 years, thinking that he was about to succeed, but the voice in the darkness made her feel as if she had fallen into an abyss. Was all his effort in vain? There wasn't much time left for the assessment. She didn't want to wait another year. If he couldn't cultivate this cultivation technique, then he would have no chance of winning this time's exam. But teacher clearly said he would cultivate like this. How did this happen? Am I wrong? His teacher had also uttered such words. Could it be that the 2 echoes behind his teacher's 8 bursts fist didn't have much strength either? She couldn't figure it out. Seeing a thin and weak voice sweeping the floor in the distance, she said with pride, "What does a service disciple like him know? If he understands 8 bursts fist, he wouldn't be here sweeping the floor, right? Should I ask him for advice? Isn't that necessary? No, how can I ask him for advice? But the examination. I won't believe it, I'm going to practice again." While they were talking, she started to cultivate. Every time she circulated her strength, every time she punched, she was extremely careful. She punched out, bang. The wooden stake made another 8 sounds. However, it was the same. Nothing had changed. The practicing courtyard continued to erupt with noise. At this moment, Long Fei's mind had already completely developed the method of how to use this technique. In other words, the 8 bursts fist had already been created in the system. Moreover, the system also sounded out a notification sound. Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for comprehending the 8 bursts fist. Do you wish to cultivate it? Holy **T. Is the system that awesome? You can automatically produce a cultivation technique just by listening to the sound. Isn't this way too amazing? This is really powerful. Long Fei was shocked by the function of the system. Auto-success method. This could no longer be described as overpowered. Cultivate. Long Fei moved and started cultivating. There was an extra skill in the skill bar. Skills: 8 bursts fist proficiency, 0-100 consumption, 10,000 holy source points cooldown, 180 seconds description. The power of one strike is divided into 8. Cultivating the ultimate punch would cause the opponent's body to explode in 8 places: his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, kidneys, pubes, forehead, and sea of consciousness. Damn. This is quite destructive. Long Fei was secretly surprised. Did not need to think about how to cultivate his skills. All he needed to do was to level up proficiency and level up his skills. The higher the skill level, the more explosive the power. He did not exist as the man in the darkness, with uneven power. Moreover, when the system was evolving, he had memorized all the key techniques of the 8 bursts fist. Practicing courtyard finished cleaning. In the darkness, there was still a figure constantly practicing his martial arts. Long Fei walked to the courtyard entrance. He wanted to leave, but he couldn't bear to see the person in the darkness trying his best to escape. If he continued to train like this, even next year would be useless. It was a completely wrong training. The people who work hard deserve the success of their efforts. Long Fei stood at the entrance of the courtyard and said with an indifferent voice, "Strength comes from the heart, the waist goes down a bit, the fists go up a bit more, the entire body moves, not the fists. Try it like this." Finished. Long Fei then walked out of the courtyard. She was a little angry and wanted to criticize Long Fei. What qualifications did a service disciple have to teach others? But Long Fei had already left. She hesitated, her waist sinking a little, her fists raised a little, thinking of what he had said, and threw out a punch. Buzz. Explode, explode, explode. 7 explosions sounded, but the final sound wasn't released. She was shocked. The system has such a function. The system has such a function. I know, listening to the voices. There are even cultivation techniques that automatically exist from listening to the voices. It really is awesome. Long Fei left the practicing courtyard and walked toward the not-too-distant Pill Academy. The matter of the 8 bursts fist was still lingering in his mind, causing him to be extremely shocked. It also made his blood boil. It was not because of the additional skill, but because of the power of the system. As long as the system was around, none of that was a problem. It was only a matter of time before they made it to Xian nationality. Right now, he could only rely on the system. Actually, Long Fei was a contradiction in terms. He hated the system, so he had no choice but to rely on it. He hated the creator of the system, and also thanked the creator. If not for the system, even if he had transmigrated, he would still be an ant struggling at the bottom, and might have died long ago. After entering the ancient world, he no longer had anything to rely on. The only thing left was the system. He could only rely on the system now, starting from zero. When they arrived at the Pill Academy, the sky was already bright. There were already many disciples going in and out of the academy, either carrying spirit grass in their hands or pill furnaces in their hands. In the pill courtyard. It's especially important in the east side. Not only did it have to provide for the expenses of thousands of disciples in the east region, it also had to shoulder the responsibility of developing new pellets and guiding the development of alchemy disciples. The status of the disciples of the Pill Academy in the Eastern District was extremely high. Ordinary disciples would not dare to offend them at all. There would probably be no pills left in the future if he offended the disciples of the Pill Academy. As far as cultivators were concerned, the assistance of medicinal pills were indispensable. No matter how high your cultivation is, you won't be able to leave without pills. There were tens of thousands of different kinds of pills that could help you improve your holy source, strengthen your body, and also refine your body, mind, and consciousness. There were even more powerful pills that could allow you to cultivate at a tremendous pace. Battle-type medicinal pills were even more powerful. A single pill could raise one's strength, speed, and various attributes by several levels in an instant. Thus, The status of the Pill Academy in the Mu clan was very high. After walking into the Pill Academy, Long Fei did not look around any further. He immediately started to clean up the place, as he was not interested in anything that was happening around him. As for alchemy, Long Fei was also not the least bit interested. He was once a grandmaster of the ancient alchemy, and any pellet he refined was at the holy god level. Even if he lost his ancient power now, his understanding of alchemy was still something very few people could compare to. As for Mu clan, the most powerful thing about him was his spatial strength, which made him not proficient in alchemy. The eastern region was also the weakest region of the Mu clan, so the pellets refined by the alchemy masters here simply did not enter Long Fei's eyes. Huala! Huala! He was sweeping the various fallen leaves in the courtyard. The area of the Pill Academy was much larger than the practicing courtyard. Other than a 3-story pill house, there were quite a few specially nurtured spirit grass in the courtyard. Spirit grasses were not high-ranked, but they decorated the Pill Academy's scenery. Furthermore, there were some spirit grass flowers that emitted the fragrance of holy sauce, causing people to feel relaxed and happy. These spirit grass were also prepared for the alchemy disciples to distinguish between the spirit grass and understand their attributes. Not far away, under a big tree, an old man that looked like he was in his 50s stroked his beard as he slowly said, "Pill refiner, spirit 2. If you want to refine a good pill, then you need to know how to control the holy source and how to use the power of the holy source in combination with the power of the spirit grass. Did you remember that?" The 10 alchemy apprentices immediately stood up and said, "Remember." Long Fei smiled slightly, his heart feeling somewhat doubtful. "This is the Divine Space's alchemy master. It's just a little bit of skin." Seeing the smile on Long Fei's face, the old man couldn't help but laugh mockingly. "You are all disciples that I have meticulously selected, and possess a certain level of alchemy talent. You must grasp this opportunity well, otherwise." He raised his gaze, looked at Long Fei, and said, "Otherwise, he would be like him, only able to clean the courtyard for us every day and become a service disciple, a person who has no hope in life." His words were filled with mockery. Many disciples also looked at Long Fei, their faces filled with contempt. "Master, don't worry. Even if we were worse off, we wouldn't be like him. He's just a servant. His talent should be at the lowest level, right? Of course. Just a lowly ant. Kid, what are you looking at? Why aren't you sweeping the floor?" Long Fei did not provoke anyone, but all kinds of ridiculing laughter came from under the tree. Long Fei ignored him. How can a lion turn back when a dog barks? When they mocked Long Fei, they were actually laughing at themselves, because he really couldn't be bothered to listen to this level of alchemy. "Brat, I told you, are you not in a good mood? He actually dares to have his back towards us." A disciple stood up. He wanted to show off in front of his teacher. Long Fei ignored him. Long Fei's disregard made him even more unhappy, and he walked up with large strides, as if he was being humiliated. Some other people also looked at Long Fei, as if they were watching a play. The old man did not stop him. It was just a mere service disciple. Even if he were to slap him a few times, so what? The disciple walked in front of Long Fei, stepped on the broom on the ground and stared at Long Fei. "Boy, I'm talking to you." Long Fei looked up and said indifferently, "I wonder what business does senior brother have?" The disciple sneered. "What attitude is this? What were you laughing at when your teacher was speaking just now? Do you know what is called alchemy?" Long Fei shook his head and said, "I don't understand." The disciple laughed. "I don't think you understand. If you understood, I'm afraid all the people in the world are all alchemy grandmasters." Long Fei said, "Yes, yes, yes. Senior brother is right." The disciple looked at Long Fei and said, "Just now you smiled at my teacher, now immediately kneel down and kowtow to me, apologizing to my teacher." Long Fei's eyes turned cold, and in his heart, he was slightly unhappy, but his eyes slightly tightened as he looked at the disciple. There was a fierce glint in his eyes. The disciple's heart slightly trembled, and his body suddenly trembled. Long Fei said in a low voice, "Don't be despicable in front of me, or else you won't be able to imagine the consequences." His voice was low, but it carried a faint killing intent. The disciple's face was pale white. He was scared speechless by Long Fei's imposing aura. At that moment, he felt really uncomfortable, as if he was about to die. Only after Long Fei had turned around and walked a few meters away did he slowly recover. With a tight look in his eyes, he heavily said, "You dog, I." Not waiting for him to finish. An explosion suddenly sounded from the side of the pill room. Rumble. A door directly burst out, and the window was also shattered into pieces. Thick smoke billowed out, carrying along with it the charred aura of the holy source. It was a complete mess. Everyone in the courtyard was shocked by the sound of the explosion. Long Fei was also startled, his forehead becoming tense. The furnace exploded. What spirit grass is so powerful that they could actually cause such a loud explosion? The old man under the tree also shouted, "The furnace has exploded." Explosions are common. Explosions are common. This was something that every alchemy master had experienced. However, in Long Fei's many years of refining pills, he had seen quite a lot of pill refiners of all sorts. He had never seen such a tragic explosion in a furnace before. The ones who didn't know thought it was a bomb explosion. The furnace blew up. The furnace blew up. Quickly go in and save them. Quick, put out the fire. The Pill Academy was thrown into a mess all of a sudden. Long Fei stood not too far away and looked at the exploding pill room. The holy source has been completely devoured. This aura seems to be a special aura released after the devouring process. This aura. Just as Long Fei was sucking in a few mouthfuls of air. Immediately, a spirit grass model with flowers appeared in the system interface. Type, God's Illusion Flower Grade, 9th grade attributes. Holy source that can swallow other spirit grass, can transform into its own strength after absorbing it, and can release a kind of gas that can cause one to fall into an illusion. Description: God's illusion flower has its own leveling attribute. As long as it is not refined once, it can grow back again. Description 2. This spirit grass fears the killing intent that is being emitted from the body of a human. Damn! Long Fei exclaimed, this system is too awesome. Just by smelling the gas, he was able to clearly describe all of its attributes, and even its weaknesses. It was really too powerful. Long Fei did not think too much about it. All the disciples in the Pill Institution had low cultivation bases and low realms, and if their consciousness was not strong enough, they would easily fall into illusions. Immediately, in the chaos, Long Fei shouted out, "Quick, hold your breath. There is poison gas in the air, do not absorb it into your body. Inhale and immediately withdraw from the Pill Institution. Faster." The Pill Academy was in a state of chaos, and thick smoke billowed in the surroundings. It was impossible to tell who was speaking. However, hearing that there was poison in the gas, no one dared to be careless. They immediately covered their noses and held their breath. Many people ran out of the courtyard. The people in the pill room had not yet come out. It was unknown how many people there were. These people were all members of the Mu clan and were his grandfather's clansmen. And then, Long Fei held his breath and quickly approached the exploded pill house. He took a look at the smoke that was billowing inside, and without caring about anything else, he rushed into the pill house. The idea moved. Buzz. The holy source on Long Fei's body shook, and the killing intent on his body surged out. Killing intent surged. The illusion of the god's illusion flower immediately weakened. Just as the system had described, the killing intent of the god's illusion flower was its nemesis. How awesome! Long Fei sighed once again at the power of the system. He discovered a white-haired old man with a face full of filth lying beside the exploded pill furnace. Beside him was an incomparably enchanting blood-red flower. It was exactly the same as the model in the system interface. Clearly, it was the god's illusion flower. It had absorbed a lot of holy source from the spirit grass. Not only was it not incinerated, it was refined even more demonically, just like a flower of blood. Holy *T. Is the spirit grass about to ascend to the sky? Long Fei's eyes moved. He did not care too much about it, and directly kept the god's illusion flower into the space ring, then carried the white-haired old man and rushed out. After leaving the pill, Long Fei placed the old man in a safe place and quickly left the courtyard. He didn't want to attract attention. He didn't want to waste this time. To keep a low profile was the way to go. Besides, he didn't have any good capital right now. Grand Elder. The Grand Elder is here. Quick, help the Great Elder out of the pill room. Faster. At this time, the disciples of the practicing courtyardess next door rushed over. Their cultivation was much higher, and after each of them carried 2 large buckets of water, they extinguished the fire. Apart from the Great Elder of the alchemy room, there were a few other disciples who had briefly fainted and were not severely injured. However, outside the courtyard, no one asked who had just said the words that were poisonous in the gas. If not for Long Fei's reminder, most of them would have died. Long Fei took his broom and was about to leave. Do good without leaving a name. However, he had not even taken 2 steps when he was stopped by a disciple from the pill room. He viciously shouted, "Where are you going? Don't we need to clean the pill academy? Go clean up, quick." "That's right, we still need to use the pill room tomorrow. Clean it up for me." Long Fei laughed bitterly in his heart, then took his broom and walked into the courtyard. It's hard for good people to do that. Several hours later, Mu Yuanan slowly woke up. Seeing him open his eyes, a few elders immediately stepped forward and asked, "Elder Yuanan, are you all right? Are you feeling better? You really scared us to death. If something were to happen to you, what would happen to our East District? If you didn't provoke me, who would challenge me with pills from the Eastern District?" Mu Yuanan was the strongest alchemy master in the Eastern region. The majority of the spirit pellets in the Eastern region had come from him. Mu Yuanan slowly sat up, his face slightly pale, and smiled apologetically. "All of you elders, I am fine, I have let you all worry. It's good that you're fine. I'm counting on you to concoct the pills from the East region. It's good that you're fine." The few elders heaved a sigh of relief. Mu Yuanan's heart was also filled with lingering fear. He did not think that a 9th-ranked spirit grass would actually possess such powerful strength. He had been a master of alchemy for dozens of years already. He had refined a lifetime's worth of pellets and was almost killed by them. That terrifying aura. The devouring force scared him. Thinking about it, Mu Yuanan became a little afraid. He could not help but ask, "Who saved me? Also, besides me, how many disciples were injured?" He was well aware that if he took in too much of the poisonous gas, it would definitely cause harm. He thought that there would definitely be deaths and injuries amongst the disciples. However, an elder stepped forward and said, "Besides you, there are only a few disciples who were slightly unconscious. They are already fine, nothing more." Mu Yuanan was slightly taken aback before he replied, "That spirit grass carried a terrifying poison gas with it. I passed out because I breathed in the poison gas as well. Other than me, no one else in the Pill Academy knows." The few elders in the room were stunned. An elder's eyes flashed. "Elder, someone reminded us that there is poisonous gas in the air. That is why we are holding our breath." Only now did someone remember. Hearing what Mu Yuanan said, many of the elders were shocked. If he hadn't warned them, many people might have died today. Mu Yuanan was even more shocked in his heart. There was still no one who knew of the spirit grass on the east side, and no one knew that it could release poisonous gas. However, someone had actually reminded him. Who was this person? Immediately, Mu Yuanan immediately asked, "Who is that person? Bring him to me immediately." Who is this person? Bring him to me immediately. Who is this person? Bring him to me immediately. After Mu Yuanan finished speaking, the few clan elders in the room looked at each other and shook their heads. They had no idea who said it. They were only subconsciously covering their noses to protect themselves in such a chaotic situation. Who would bother reminding them? One of the elders said, "The scene after the explosion was very chaotic. In the midst of the chaos, there was a voice. We don't even know who said it. But one thing I can be sure of, it must be the disciples of the Pill Academy. There are no outsiders in the academy today." A few elders also chimed in. Right, there are no other disciples apart from the Pill Academy. Could it be a certain genius disciple? Could it be Mu Tianhu? It's possible, I'll send someone to ask immediately. No one knew who said it, but even if they had, no one would have suspected Long Fei. A service disciple, what did he know about alchemy? Let alone a high-level spirit grass like this. Mu Yuanan was a little disappointed in her heart. She waved her hand and said, "Go and check first, we must definitely find this person. I want to thank him personally." There were a lot of people who knew about the god's illusion flower, but no one knew that it could release poisonous gas. Even Mu Yuanan himself only knew about it during the process of using his alchemy. It would truly be amazing if the academy had such a disciple. Also, he was researching on a new pill. If this disciple could help him solve his doubts, perhaps he would be able to refine a new pill. It had been a long time since he had a breakthrough in his pill techniques. If he was able to achieve a breakthrough in his new pill, he might be able to reach Tier 6. The elders nodded. "Don't worry, we will try our best to find him." After the elder left, Mu Yuanan did not continue lying on the bed. He himself was not heavily injured, but his thoughts were still thinking about God's illusion flower. He wanted to go to the Pill Academy to take a look. Huff, huff. This is really killing me. I didn't expect cleaning to be so tiring. Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief. After a few hours, he finally cleaned up the chaotic Pill Academy. The Pill Academy has finished cleaning up. There's still one more place, and this mission isn't that simple. Even with 500 experience points, it's still hard to get. Long Fei muttered as he walked towards another courtyard with a broom. It was also the courtyard that the senior sister resided in. Not long after he left, Mu Yuanan walked into the Pill Academy. Looking at the clean and tidy academy, he was slightly stunned. No god's illusion flower could be found. Mu Yuanan's heart ached slightly. Did the level 9 spirit grass disappear just like that? Sigh. It seems like my new pill plan is going to run aground again. Sigh. When will I be able to become a Tier 6 pill refiner? Mu Yuanan let out a long sigh. Looking at the exploded pill furnace in the pill room, the space between his eyebrows tightened secretly. I remember that before I passed out, the god's illusion flower was not refined. Instead, it absorbed the holy source from other spirit grass to bloom even more enchantingly. It shouldn't have been blown up. A 9th stage spirit grass would not be so easily destroyed. Thinking about it, Mu Yuanan's heart tightened. Could it be that someone took it away? That shouldn't be the case. God's illusion flower is a dangerous type of spirit grass. If you can't control it, it can slowly absorb holy source, and even suck people into a dried corpse. Some spirit grass were extremely dangerous, and God's illusion flower were one type of spirit grass. Whoever carried it on their body would suffer a backlash if they couldn't suppress it. Normal people would not dare to touch this kind of spirit grass. Now that the God's illusion flower had disappeared, who would be the one to take it? The disciples of the Pill Academy should not dare to make a move. If they weren't disciples of the Pill Academy, then who could they have been? Looking at the clean courtyard, Mu Yuanan was surprised. Could it be a service disciple? It shouldn't be, right? He wasn't sure. However, God's illusion flower were very important to him, and finding another one would take too much time, so he needed to use his new one as well. No matter what, I have to find the God's illusion flower. Mu Yuanan muttered, I have to ask Mu Dafu. He couldn't miss anyone. The place the senior sister is staying is so fragrant. Long Fei walked into an exquisite courtyard. There was a faint fragrance of flowers floating in the courtyard, and some clothes were drying on the side of the courtyard. These were the senior sister's personal clothes. Watch your eyes. If you dare take another look, be careful of your eyeballs. Long Fei stood blankly at the door for a moment, only to be stared at by a few pairs of violent eyes, each and every one of them as if they wanted to kill him. Long Fei immediately lowered his head, walked into the courtyard and started cleaning. Is this a new errand boy? He looks pretty handsome. Do you want to tease him? Senior sister, are you in heat again? F*CKU, you've only just gotten hot, but this little fresh meat is really handsome. As he spoke, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. While they were talking, she twisted her snake waist, and walked up to Long Fei with a move of her buttocks. The corner of her mouth slightly raised, and her voice became charming and gentle. "You're new here?" He was spitting out incense in his mouth. His voice was so gentle that it made one's bones quiver. The senior sister in front of him did not look that good, but at best, he looked average, about 5 out of 5. But he had an absolutely first-class figure, and he also had that sound. If it was tossed around the bed, the sound would definitely be fascinating. It was just that, had heard the most coquettish voice before. Her voice did not make Long Fei feel funny at all. She lowered her head to sweep the ground and replied, Mu Feiyan was stunned. No man had ever heard her voice so calm. She knew that her looks had no advantage, but she knew that any advantage could be brought to bear on her figure and voice. There were not many male disciples in the Eastern District who could resist her. However, Long Fei was unmoved and was very calm. This was not an act, she could feel it from the act, but she could not feel anything from Long Fei's body. Could it be that he no longer had the ability to attract others? Mu Feiyan was secretly unhappy. She did not believe that taming a service disciple was not possible. Her delicate, jade-like fingers raised her hand slightly, as her palm directly pressed onto Long Fei's chest. Her voice became even more charming, as she flirtatiously spoke. "Junior brother, do you think I'm good-looking?" The index finger on Long Fei's chest gently slid, the snake-like tongue in his mouth lightly licking his lips. His eyes were misty. He was just like a otaku. In his previous life, Long Fei would probably react if he just listened to the voice. But now, the more beauties he saw, the stronger his resistance was. Thus, even if the woman in front of him was extremely charming, Long Fei was still very calm, and said, "She's beautiful." However, Mu Feiyan said, "But what?" Long Fei said, "It doesn't attract me at all." "It's not attractive to me at all. It's not attractive to me at all." Finished. Long Fei took a step back and cleaned the place from the other side. Mu Feiyan was stunned and a mess was made. Long Fei's words could be said to be a critical strike to her, leaving her completely unable to react. A few female disciples who were not far away were laughing so hard that they fell back and forth. "Ha ha ha. Big Sister Feiyan, he doesn't like you at all. Ha ha ha. This is the first time Sister Feiyan has done this, right? Brat, you're really awesome. Ha ha ha." They were all laughing. Long Fei did not raise his head because what he said was the truth. With Mu Feiyan's looks, it was impossible for her to enter Long Fei's eyes, so she was naturally not interested. Mu Feiyan was enraged. He turned and stepped on the broom, and stared at Long Fei. "Brat, don't think that just because you're a bit handsome that you're so amazing. Do you dare to repeat what you just said?" Long Fei very sincerely repeated, "Senior sister, you really aren't attractive to me at all." He vomited blood. Mu Feiyan wanted to vomit blood. No man had ever dared to say that to her. Even if she wasn't as beautiful as Mu Yarrow, with her figure, her voice was definitely not soft. Furthermore, she could instantly kill a large number of male disciples. But now, a service disciple actually said such words. Her pride was badly hurt. Mu Feiyan said angrily, why am I not attractive anymore?" Long Fei said, "Because I can see it, it is not attractive." Mu Feiyan said, "You're the only service disciple you've seen so much. I don't believe it, you must be faking it, I'm afraid you want to throw me on the ground right now." Long Fei replied, "I really don't have that." Mu Feiyan said, Men are all the same kind of people, do you think I don't know anything about it?" Long Fei laughed bitterly and stopped his debate. Because there was no need. But Mu Feiyan did not let it go, and said, "What are you laughing at? You're just pretending." Long Fei said, Fine. I faked it. I noticed the senior sister from the moment I entered, but I don't dare to look at you, because you are too beautiful. I am afraid that if I look at you more, you will think that you are blaspheming the gods. You are really too beautiful. Your body, your voice makes me unable to restrain myself from imagining. In my mind, all sorts of images of rolling on the bed appeared. I fantasized about fighting with the senior sister for 3 days and 3 nights, and I will use all kinds of poses to viciously trample you. I can't even control it right now. He spoke like a machine gun. And Long Fei approached step by step, his eyes staring at Mu Feiyan with blazing passion. Mu Feiyan looked at her eyes and her heart was thumping hard. Hearing Long Fei say these dirty words, her cheeks flushed red, and she retreated step by step. On the other hand, she did not dare look at Long Fei's eyes, and it was as if she could not control herself, as if Long Fei would swallow her up any time. The other female disciples in the courtyard were also stunned by Long Fei. No one had ever dared to speak to Mu Feiyan like this. Are you sure you don't want to die? The key point was that Mu Feiyan seemed to be intoxicated by it. What was going on? Cough, cough. Senior sister. A woman reminded him. Mu Feiyan immediately reacted. He stared at Long Fei and said, "How dare you? You dare to speak to senior sister like that? Do you believe that I won't cut off your tongue?" Long Fei said with a bitter face, "Senior sister, what do you want me to do? I'm really in a difficult position." Mu Feiyan stared blankly for a moment. Listening to what Long Fei said, she felt that Long Fei had said those words to cover up her feelings, and she was actually a little disappointed. How could this be? He had never felt this way before. Could it be that he was really in heat? The heart is beating. Even if it was ripples, it couldn't possibly be against a service disciple, right? But this man's eyes were too mesmerizing. Mu Feiyan was a little unable to control himself and acted like he had been bewitched. Long Fei was already cleaning up another place. At this moment, there was a person standing at the entrance to the courtyard. A girl with a ponytail, neat and tidy body and a flawless face. Pretty, kind of pure. Long Fei lifted his head to take a look. He didn't even glance at it. It was the same. There was nothing sexual about it. The female disciple in the courtyard greeted respectfully, "Senior sister Mu Yao." Long Fei was startled. She's the goddess that Mu Yun spoke of? The most beautiful senior sister of the eastern region, is also the female disciple who has the highest chance of entering the south area this year? It's indeed all right. Mu Yarrow stood at the entrance of the courtyard as she stared at Long Fei. There was a strange look in his eyes. He stared for a good half a minute before retracting his gaze. Mu Feiyan said, "He's a new service disciple." She didn't know if Long Fei had offended Mu Yarrow, so she spoke out first. "Right. What's your name?" Mu Feiyan asked. Long Fei said, "Dragon." "Mu Fei, my name is Mu Fei." It was a bit inappropriate. Mu Feiyan muttered softly, Mu Fei, it's exactly the same as the first two words of my name." Mu Yarrow softly repeated, "Mu Fei." Mu Yarrow walked down the steps, the aura on his body slightly fluctuating, sensing the aura on Long Fei's body. Long Kwong immediately said, "She's sensing your cultivation realm." Long Fei was not moved. He didn't need to hide. A fourth-grade deity was practically the weakest existence in the Eastern District. There was no need to hide at all. He was just puzzled. She is a high and mighty goddess, like a star. Why would a senior sister sense my cultivation? Mu Yarrow became anxious, fourth stage of the god of heaven, with this cultivation level. What kind of cultivation technique do you know? The moment she brushed past Long Fei and entered the room, she did not turn her head and said coldly, "Quickly leave after cleaning everything up. This is where the female disciples live." Long Fei nodded, and said, "Yes." Mu Yarrow walked into the room, and the anger in the courtyard calmed down once again. Mu Feiyan forgot what had just happened and said to Long Fei, "Little junior brother, in the future, will all the miscellaneous matters be managed by you?" Long Fei replied, Mu Feiyan giggled, and said, "Then can big sister's clothes also be washed for you?" Long Fei said, "Sorry, this is not within my scope of work." Mu Feiyan continued, "My clothes can contain my insides." She blushed. Long Fei remained unmoved, and said, "It's useless, you don't attract me at all." Mu Feiyan's face immediately changed, he angrily gritted his teeth and stomped his feet. "I don't believe I can't take you down, Women are like that." The more she didn't take her seriously, the more excited she became. In the room, Mu Yarrow was also looking at Long Fei, but there was a little contempt in his eyes. What use can a man who doesn't work hard to cultivate have? As the sun was setting, Long Fei was tired for a whole day before the notification sound finally rang. Ding! System notification. Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing the daily quest, obtaining 500 experience points, holy source points. Long Fei also frequently sighed, and thought to himself, damn, I'm so tired that I almost broke my waist. This bastard only has 500 experience points in a single day. If this goes on, when will I be able to level up? No way. I have to find a place to level up. If this goes on, I'll become a cripple. We'll go out tonight. At this moment, Mu Yuanan, Mu Dafu, was already waiting for him at the courtyard where Long Fei lived. Kid, you're finally back. Kid, you're finally back. The moment Long Fei entered the courtyard, Mu Dafu hastily walked over to Long Fei. He glared fiercely at Long Fei, and said with a low voice, "Did you take something from the academy? If you take it, just take it out quickly, okay? Otherwise, I won't be able to protect you when the time comes." He could tell that Mu Dafu was very anxious, as he wanted to protect Long Fei. The Pill Academy had a very high position in the East region, and Mu Yuanan was the dean of the academy. Long Fei froze for a moment, then subconsciously shook his head. "I didn't take anything." Mu Dafu said, "You really didn't take it? This is no joke." Long Fei said, "I really didn't take it." At that time, he only felt that if this flower stayed here, it would only be a disaster. Explosion meant that Mu Yuanan was unable to control this spirit grass, and if he were to continue refining it, something would definitely happen. However, he couldn't admit it now. Once he admitted it, Mu Yuanan would definitely ask him why he took the god's illusion flower and why the spirit grass devoured the holy source on his body. Why was he fine? Who reminded them to stop breathing? As long as he admitted it, he would be in for a lot of trouble. Thus, Long Fei would never admit it. Mu Yuanan also walked over and said, "Your name is Mu Fei?" Long Fei nodded and said, "En." Mu Yuanan said, "You cleaned the Pill Academy today?" Long Fei replied, "Yes." Mu Yuanan asked, "Were you at the Pill Academy when the furnace exploded?" Long Fei replied, "Yes." Mu Yuanan said, "Do you know who reminded the air to be poisonous?" Long Fei shook his head, "This I don't know, I only heard a voice sounding out from the chaos, saying that there was poison in the air, and then I covered my nose and ran out. Originally, I wanted to leave, but Principal Dan stopped me and told me to clean the courtyard. Only then did I go in and clean. But I didn't take anything from the pill room." He couldn't admit it even if he was beaten to death. Mu Yuanan did not say more, but suddenly took a step forward, his two fingers directly grabbing onto Long Fei's pulse. The idea moved, and through Long Fei's pulse, felt the holy source qi in his body. Long Fei's current state was that of the holy source. What Mu Yuanan felt was naturally also a holy source at full strength. "Huh!" Mu Yuanan's two fingers relaxed, and said indifferently, "You indeed did not take the god's illusion flower. If you had taken the god's illusion flower, with your current cultivation, I'm afraid that your holy source value would have already been completely sucked dry." Hearing his words, Mu Dafu heaved a sigh of relief. Long Fei was a servant under his command. If Long Fei stole something from the Pill Academy, he would not be able to live a good life. Long Fei's heart tightened, and he thought to himself, "Luckily I managed to scare the god's illusion flower with my killing intent, otherwise, if the holy source value was absorbed by it, I would have been exposed." Mu Yuanan looked at Long Fei with a serious expression and felt that he owed Long Fei. "Little brother, if you need any medicinal pellets in the future, come and find me at the Pill Academy." Finished. Mu Yuanan walked out of the small courtyard. Mu Dafu bowed in an attempt to send him off. He only returned after seeing him out of the courtyard. He stared at Long Fei and said, "Servant disciples should do your job properly. Some things cannot be seen, and some things even more so cannot be seen. Do you understand? I don't care what your identity is, you have to follow my rules. Do you understand?" Long Fei replied, "Understood." Mu Dafu looked at Long Fei. There was something else in his eyes, and he opened his mouth to say something, but in the end, he endured it. With his hands behind his back, he strode out of the courtyard. Long Fei closed the courtyard door, walked in and closed it. And then, he carefully took out the god's illusion flower. Long Fei looked at the alluring blood-red petals, which were slightly curled up like frost. The instant Long Fei took them out, he shook violently. Buzz! The petals instantly looked like blood, and a red liquid dripped from the petals, as if they were made of fresh blood. Immediately, a powerful energy directly flowed into Long Fei's sea of consciousness. This was a powerful spiritual energy, causing Long Fei's body to sink slightly. You still dare to be cocky in front of me? Long Fei moved, a strong killing intent immediately gushing out from his body. At this moment, the god's illusion flower was immediately enraged, and all of the spirit energy it released was crushed. Killing intent was its nemesis. His strength had been completely suppressed. Long Fei roared fiercely, "Are you trying to be cocky for your father again? Will it release a hallucinatory spiritual force? Come on, let's see what else you can do." Long Fei ruthlessly trampled the god's illusion flower. The god's illusion flower's body continued to shrink, the petals closed, and the two leaves started to contract as well. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out from nowhere. It was very thin, very weak, like the soft voice of a young lady. However, it was very clear. "My lord, I was wrong. Don't release any more killing intent. I was wrong." Long Fei was startled, her eyes stared straight at the god's illusion flower. She asked in shock, "You're talking?" The god's illusion flower immediately replied, "Yes, I'm talking. Master, can you please retract your killing intent? I can't take it anymore." His voice was even weaker. Long Fei also swiftly withdrew his killing intent, then said while looking at the god's illusion flower, "You are only a 9th-ranked spirit grass, you don't even have spirit sense, how can you still speak?" Spirit grass and spirit beasts required thousands of years to evolve their consciousness, and 10,000 years to be able to speak like a human. God's illusion flower were not any rare spirit grass, they were only at the 9th level as well. He didn't even have spiritual awareness at this stage, let alone speak. The god's illusion flower in front of him was a little different. The killing intent in the room disappeared, and the god's illusion flower's body slowly relaxed as it gently swayed, and said, Actually, I. Long Fei said, "You better make it clear, or else." The god's illusion flower knew what Long Fei wanted to do, and immediately said, "I am actually Flower Fairy." "What? Flower Fairy? Do you think I'm stupid? How could I believe such words?" Long Fei didn't believe it at all, this was completely deceiving a child. Flower Fairy? Long Fei had experienced so many planes, yet he had never heard of the term Flower Fairy. The god's illusion flower muttered, and said, "I knew you wouldn't believe me, but I am really a Flower Fairy, and I live amongst the god's illusion flower, and that is the reason why I am able to speak. That's also the reason why I haven't been refined by that pill refiner." Long Fei looked at her carefully. Long Quang was also confused, and said, "Master, I have never heard of any Flower Fairy." The god's illusion flower seemed to be afraid that Long Fei would not believe it, and said, "I swear to God, everything I say is true." Fine. It doesn't matter if you are the Flower Fairy or the Grass Fairy, what I care about is your ability. What I care about is what value you have to me. I don't think there's a need for her to stay by my side if she doesn't have any value to me. Long Fei squinted. The killing intent from Long Fei's body secretly surged. The killing intent from Long Fei's body secretly surged. "You look like you're worthless and I'm going to get rid of you." Actually, this was Long Fei's probing. He wanted to know what ability the Flower Fairy possessed. Something that even the Dragon Quang doesn't know is definitely not ordinary, and for her to be able to live in a spirit grass, this ability is even more extraordinary. Flower Fairy simply could not stand Long Fei's pressure of killing intent. Before Long Fei could finish speaking, she anxiously said, "I have a lot of value. I can distinguish all the spirit grasses ranks." Long Fei shrugged. "I can also differentiate between this and that, and I know your weakness as well. Otherwise, how do you think I would know about your weakness? This value is of no value to me. He is the owner of the system. As long as it was something within the range of Long Fei's realm, The system would be able to discern it and analyze it very clearly. Of course, if there was no system, the flower fairy was extremely powerful. It would be of great help to any pill refiner. It was useless to Long Fei, unless it was something that was outside of the system's range of identification. Upon hearing that it was useless to Long Fei, the flower fairy hurriedly said, I can still understand plants speak. I am a plant speech user. Heh. A herbalist. Long Fei was slightly stunned. This was the first time he had heard of this kind of ability. In this world, what was most important was not humans or beasts, but plants. Flowers, plants, trees. If he could understand what these plants were saying, then that would be too awesome. However, who can prove it? What if Flower Fairy made it up? Long Fei asked doubtfully, a herbalist? Understand plant speech? Flower Fairy said, yes, anything that has spirit, I can talk with it. Hundreds of years old trees, all kinds of spirit grass and spirit flowers, I have to be able to understand and speak with them. Long Fei asked, who can prove it? This. Flower Fairy was a little embarrassed. There was indeed no way to prove this, because she knew that she was the only one who spoke up in the entire ancient world. How could he prove it? Long Fei looked at a tree in the courtyard and said, do you know what it said? The god's illusion flower said, I have to get by its side before I can talk to it. Long Fei said, I'll bring you to his side, I want to see what kind of story you can come up with. Long Fei brought God's illusion flower into the courtyard. There was 100-year-old tree on the side of the yard. It wasn't big. The God's illusion flower swayed a few times and said, he said that for the past 100 years, you have been the 27th master of this courtyard. Ha ha. Long Fei laughed, and said, continue making it up. The God's illusion flower was very anxious. He knew Long Fei did not believe it. The flower continued to sway a bit, and then said, he said that he bought a holy source stone under the 8th floor tile in the courtyard. Long Fei looked at the floor tile in the middle of the courtyard, the 8th floor, right? Sure. I'll see how you continue to make things up. Long Fei lifted the floor tile with one hand. What surprised him was, as expected, there was a holy source stone there. Long Fei was stunned. This was the first time the god's illusion flower had come to this courtyard, there was no doubt about this. In other words, this flower fairy was really a herbalist. She understood what Big Tree said to him just now. Glossary. Damn. I've struck it rich. Long Fei was secretly delighted in his heart. With such a guy who understood the language of plants, he would be able to easily ask about it whenever he wanted to in the future. Moreover, if he could find the spirit stone buried under the floor tile, then he would be able to find the ancient tomb or other treasures. This was secondary. Right now, what Long Fei needed the most wasn't treasures, but leveling up. Long Fei revealed an indifferent expression, and said, this ability is still considered valuable. What other abilities do you have? For example, do you know where demon beast are located? Flower Fairy said, I don't know where there are demon beast, but I can ask for you. Long Fei's heart trembled, and thought to himself, that's right. Just put this guy into the woods. Just ask a few trees and you'll know the situation of the forest. Rub. An omnipotent guide. And then, Long Fei said, all right, if you can find any places that have demon beast, I will feel that you are valuable, so you can stay by my side. Flower Fairy replied, I can definitely ask for you, but I have a request. Long Fei said, you still have more requests. Tell me about it. Flower Fairy said, I need to absorb your holy source once a day. If you don't agree, then just kill me. Long Fei said, all right, I will agree to this condition. Whether or not you are worthy will depend on your performance tonight. Flower Fairy was also secretly happy as he said, don't worry, I will definitely not disappoint you. In the past, she could be said to have been a wanderer. Deep in the mountains. He had been in the water, too. She had stayed in the hands of the powerful alchemy masters before, as well as in the purgatory, but she could face death every day. This was because as long as she did not have any holy source to absorb, she would wither and die. If Long Fei could let her absorb the holy source, Then she wouldn't have to wander around freely. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "This is for the best." "Right. Ask it first, where can I get out?" Long Fei initially wanted to secretly leave the East Gate, to go out to level up at night. Right now, there was no need to worry, all of these things could be handed over to the Flower Fairy. Indeed. Before even waiting for 3 seconds, Flower Fairy had a result. In another place. Training room. 8 bursts fist. Explode. Mu Yarrow's fist moved, smashing onto the wooden stake. Explode, explode, explode. 7 consecutive sounds could be heard. The sound was very explosive, and the power was very ferocious as well. Compared to yesterday, this boxing style's strength had doubled. However, Mu Yarrow frowned, as if he was very dissatisfied. Why can't the power of the 8th explosion come out? I did as he said. Why is that? She repeated the words of the morning over and over in her mind. Long Fei's figure also appeared in his mind. A service disciple. Mu Yarrow's gaze tensed up. He is just a service disciple, and a newcomer at that. He doesn't even have the qualifications to practice. Does he know any techniques? Moreover, it's a rank 6 cultivation technique. The 8 bursts fist was not simple at all, and it would be even more difficult to cultivate it well. Even the strongest elder in the eastern region would have to use it 8 times, but the last 2 times were also similarly lacking in strength. At the start, she thought that was the case, but today, she knew that the 8 bursts fist was stronger than the first time. His previous understanding of the 8 bursts fist was completely wrong. But now, she was at the 7th explosion, so she was unable to unleash the power of the 8th explosion. Mu Yarrow was troubled. The exam was getting closer and closer. If she still couldn't master this fist technique before the exam began, then her chances of passing the exam would be very slim. Mu Yarrow secretly clenched his fists. Should I ask him? Mu Yarrow was a woman with goals and ambitions. Mu Yarrow was a woman with goals and ambitions. The man she liked was also one with goals in mind. It was clear that Long Fei did not exist in her heart as he trained assiduously for her goals. Just by seeing Long Fei flirting with him in the courtyard, she had one-sidedly determined that Long Fei was a man that did not pursue anything. Even if a man was born lowly, he couldn't lose his ambition. Especially in this kind of world where the powerhouse was respected, they had to work even harder to become stronger and cultivate. She waited in practicing courtyard for a whole day and all the other service disciples came over, but she did not see Long Fei. Did not appear even once every day for an hour. Combining these 2 points, she believed that Long Fei was a man with no future. Only now. She was confused. Why did a service disciple know about 8 bursts fist? Moreover, with his guidance, her 8 bursts fist's power increased by a lot. Did he really understand? Or did it just happen to be true? Mu Yarrow's heart was filled with doubts. However, in the end, she did not go to find Long Fei. In her heart, she had already seen in front of Long Fei what he had told her. Long Fei left the small courtyard. He quietly arrived at a corner following the Flower Fairy's directions. Just when he was about to leave, coincidentally, Mu Yun walked over. Seeing Long Fei, Mu Yun was stunned at first, but after that he exclaimed in shock, "Junior brother Mu Fei, what are you doing? Don't tell me you want to leave the Mu clan? Although we are servants, but do you know how many people under the God-living mountain are begging to enter the Mu clan to be servants? We should be satisfied." He thought Long Fei wanted to escape. Long Fei laughed bitterly and said, "I don't want to escape. I just want to go out and take a look." Mu Yun laughed awkwardly. "You want to go out? Why would we want to go out? Deep in the mountains of our eastern region, we will be able to encounter demon beast once we walk out of this wall. It would be very dangerous for you to go out." As expected. Long Fei was secretly shocked. Flower Fairy didn't lie to me, demon beast. That was exactly what Long Fei needed the most right now. However, he couldn't say it out loud. Long Fei said, "I can't learn much from cultivating and practicing courtyard. I want to go out and gain experience. Fighting is the best way to improve myself." Mu Yun was startled, and said, Real combat can raise one's cultivation? Long Fei said, of course, this is the best way. Mu Yun hesitated for a moment, then said, okay, then I will go with you. Huh? Long Fei said, you're going too? This is against the rules of the Eastern District. If we get caught. Mu Yun said, I want to become stronger. Her eyes were determined. He had just returned from cultivation, but his cultivation had not improved at all. His talent was too poor. Even if he spent twice as much time cultivating as others, it still wouldn't be half of what others gained from cultivating. If one's talent was poor, there was only one way to become stronger, and that was to train to the point of death. If others could practice it in 1 day, he would then use 10 days, 20 days, or 100 days to cultivate. Long Fei looked at the determined Mu Yun and said, have you made your decision? It's very dangerous outside. Mu Yun said, I know, but junior brother, my cultivation is also higher than yours. It's more dangerous for you to go out alone. I can still protect you. Let's go. We have to be back before dawn. With that said, he climbed onto the wall and extended his hand towards Long Fei. Long Fei laughed, reached out his hand and grabbed Mu Yun's hand, then leaped up with all his might. Young Sparrow Hawk landed on the other side of the wall. Soon, the two of them disappeared into the forest. In the dark, Mu Dafu slowly walked out, his eyes becoming nervous. He saw everything that had happened, but he did not stop it. However, he was a little confused. Can't you cultivate it in the practicing courtyard? Do you really have to run out to cultivate? Mu Dafu muttered, but he did not follow him out. His mission was just to protect Long Fei well in the East region. As for leaving the East region, that was Long Fei's own business. What direction? West, 3 kilometers. What rank of demon beast? Uncle Tree said just now that it was a first-rank demon beast. Okay. Long Fei and Flower Fairy answered each other's questions. He now completely trusted the Flower Fairy. After confirming the direction, Long Fei swiftly rushed out. Mu Yun followed behind Long Fei. He was completely confused and did not know what Long Fei wanted to do. He had clearly come out to do battle, but where was the target of the battle? A few minutes later, Long Fei stopped and said, we're here. Mu Yun asked, where? Without waiting for him to finish speaking, chewing sounds came from behind a bush and at the same time, there was a low roar that emitted the aura of a vicious beast. Mu Yun could feel the chi of the fierce beast, his eyes shook, and he said, demon beast. As soon as the words left his mouth, the stone wolf in the shrubbery immediately sensed the human's aura and immediately gave up on the rotten hair, leaping heavily. Whoosh! With a leap, he jumped dozens of meters behind Long Fei. Mu Yun was shocked, and said, first-rank demon beast, stone wolf. Junior brother, is this the real combat you were talking about? Not waiting for him to finish, the stone wolf pounced towards Long Fei. Long Fei frowned, locking onto the stone wolf, which was around the height of a person, more than 2 meters long, and completely covered in stones. He did not let his guard down. He had killed thousands and thousands of demon beast and killed many divine beast as well. This first-stage demon beast seemed to be trash, but the dimensions were different. This was the ancient world's divine space, and a first-stage demon beast was even stronger than lower realm divine beasts. Do you want to go, or should I? Long Fei looked at Mu Yun. Mu Yun clenched his teeth and said, I am a 6th-stage deity, I will go. As Long Fei's senior brother, of course he had to protect Long Fei. Seeing the stone wolf pouncing at him, the cemetery took a step forward, and with his right hand taking out a green sword, the sword blurred, releasing a sword technique. Fallen leaf sword. The first stance, wind catch fallen leaf. Buzz. The sword chime resonated slightly as Mu Yun's sword reached out and struck straight at the center of the stone wolf's brows. It was just that. The stone wolf did not dodge but rather opened its doors wide and rushed towards Mu Yun. The sword pierced right into the center of the stone wolf's eyebrows, causing Mu Yun to feel joy in his heart. Bastard, why aren't you falling down? If he were to be struck like that, he would definitely be injured. However, there was not a single scratch on the stone wolf's forehead. Under Long Fei's system display, He did not lose a single drop of blood, and the powerful impact directly bent Mu Yun's sword. His body sank, and the instant he landed, he exerted his strength once more. Crack! Crash! The long sword shattered. Mu Yun's face changed, his sword broke, his mind was in a mess. When he tried to retreat, he realized that the stone wolf had already pounced in front of him. Ah! Mu Yun immediately screamed in shock. Long Fei grabbed Mu Yun's collar and pulled him back. Mu Yun retreated. Long Fei's fists sunk, 8 bursts fists. 8 bursts fists. 8 bursts fists. His entire body moved, and a fist shot out. It solidly struck between the brows of the stone wolf. Immediately, 8 exploding sounds came from the entire body of the stone wolf. A bright red number floated above his head, 3,980. Its HP was also completely revealed, at 10,000 points. Long Fei muttered, "Damn, is the blood of the demon beast of the divine space so thick? Even a first-stage demon beast with 10,000 HP would be a little fierce." Awoo, awoo. The stone wolf's body sank and a mouthful of blood came out from between its eyebrows. It was so painful that its entire body trembled, but its eyes had also turned crimson. He was enraged. He bared his fangs and let out a low cry. Woo woo. 8 bursts fist has a high degree of damage, causing 8 parts of the body to be severely injured. Long Fei's current 8 bursts fist was not even at the first level. He couldn't unleash much power at all. It was enough to deal 4,000 damage. After finishing the punch, Long Fei did not retreat, but took a step forward and bellowed, "Fury? Come on." Without waiting for the stone wolf to react, he grabbed the stone wolf's neck, pushed himself up with both hands, and jumped high. Then he sank. Bam! It directly flipped the stone wolf over. Long Fei's arms were tightly locked together. It's like wrestling. The stone wolf that was flipped over struggled crazily. It felt extremely uncomfortable with its neck being locked, but its 4 limbs could not grab hold of its strength. Furthermore, it would be even less able to harm Long Fei. There was a pause of half a minute. The amount of blood on the head of the stone wolf dropped to the bottom. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Stone Wolf for obtaining 5,000 experience, 500 holy source points, and 1 striking value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Stone Wolf skin. Huff. Hearing the system beep's, Long Fei let out a small breath, stood up, looked at the Stone Wolfess on the ground and muttered, "You little brat, are you still angry with me?" Then, he looked towards the dumbstruck Mu Yun. At this moment, Mu Yun was completely dumbfounded. In less than a minute, a first-stage demon beast was killed by Long Fei just like that. The aura exuding from his body was completely different. He was like a veteran who had gone through many battles. He was calm, steady, and would not give his opponent any chances after dealing with him. The most important thing was, he was a 6th-stage god of heaven, and Long Fei was a 4th-stage god of heaven, a demon beast that even he was unable to deal with. Isn't this a little too fierce? One more thing. It was only the first day that Long Fei arrived in Mu Clan, when he had started to train in the 8 bursts fist, and only disciples with green identity were qualified to train in this kind of fist technique. What are you guys blanking out for? We're leaving. Long Fei did not stay any longer. At night, he had to hurry and level up. Suddenly, Mu Yun took a step forward and immediately knelt in front of Long Fei, and said, "Boss, teach me." Huh? Long Fei was shocked. Supporting Mu Yun, he asked, "Senior brother, what are you doing?" "No, don't. You're my senior brother, no, you're my boss. From today onwards, I, Mu Yun, will follow you. Please, teach me." Mu Yun kneeled on the ground and did not get up. Long Fei did not know whether to laugh or cry, and said, "What should I teach you?" Mu Yun said, "Teach me anything, teach me combat skills, teach me techniques, whatever you teach me, I will learn anything." Everyone wanted to become strong, and it was the same for Mu Yun. Seeing Long Fei taking care of a stone wolf so easily, even a heavenly god 8th pin could not do it. How strong was Long Fei? If he could get Long Fei's guidance, perhaps he could become like this in a few years, perhaps. Maybe his goddess Mu Yarrow would be able to take a look at him. Long Fei said, "Get up first." Mu Yun said, "Boss, if you don't accept me, I won't get up." He had finally managed to grab onto a life-saving straw, so it was impossible for him to let go. Helpless, Long Fei could only agree and say, "All right, I agree. Can you get up now?" Mu Yun giggled and said, "Boss." Long Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and said, "Being my little brother doesn't have any good ending. I'm fine. As long as I can become a little stronger, I won't be afraid even if I die." Mu Yun did not have any intentions, and he did not know what Long Fei meant by those words. Long Fei did not say anything either. This was his grandfather's family. If he could use the system to nurture a few powerhouses, it would be considered helping his grandfather. Long Fei said, "Your talent is limited, your cultivation is only at that level, what's the point of becoming strong?" Mu Yun clenched his fists tightly and after a few seconds, he said, "I want Mu Yarrow to look at me. If I can become stronger, she will definitely notice me. That's it." Long Fei was a little surprised. "You are just too useless. If it was me, I would have definitely married her as my goal. Just looking at her is nothing. You have to target her in the future. Only then can you be considered a man." Mu Yun muttered, "I want to as well, but how can her talent and mine compare to me? I am satisfied with just a glance. F*ck, if you only have this little bit of potential, then don't follow me. You're simply insulting me." Long Fei said in annoyance. Mu Yun immediately said, "All right, I'll do whatever boss says." "That's more like it." Long Fei said, "But just as you said, if you want to obtain her, you must first make her pay attention to you. If you want her to notice you, then you must become stronger. There's still one more stone wolf ahead. Bring out all of your strength later on and force your way up." "Understood." Mu Yun nodded heavily, and said, "All right. Restricted talent. Then just accept your fate." No. Long Fei would never accept his fate, nor would he let the people beside him accept their fate. There is nothing in this world that can't be changed. Mu Yun's aptitude was indeed not very high, but if one was willing to work hard, Long Fei would definitely let him become a peak powerhouse. Roar! The stone wolf pounced. Mu Yun resisted with all his might. This time, he didn't dodge. Instead, he learnt Long Fei's way of fighting by getting close to him. There were several cuts on his chest, but he did not avoid them. He was going to force his way down. However, he did not have any actual combat experience, and was completely ravaged by the stone wolf. Finally, Long Fei struck out with his 8 bursts fist, and after a few punches, the stone wolf's life was taken. The system sounded out again. Long Fei looked at the panting Mu Yun, and said indifferently, "Let's go, continue." Bam! Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei. The system kept beeping throughout the night. His experience points was constantly increasing. It was close to 90%. There were still a few first-stage demon beast left to level up. At this moment, there was not much time for daylight. Long Fei thought to himself that he would have to return here today. After all, he had to rush back to the East region to sweep the floor. However, just then, Flower Fairy suddenly said, "Master, a big tree grandpa just told me something. There's a stone wolf king in a cave in this valley. It's protecting a spirit treasure." "Huh? Stone wolf king? Boss?" Long Fei was immediately excited. Is the information accurate? Is the information accurate? Grandpa Tree would never lie to me. Flower Fairy was very sure. Long Fei did not understand the plant language. However, Flower Fairy's tone seemed to be very sure. How could the Flower Fairy be so sure? If plants could speak, they should have the same spiritual awareness as humans. They shouldn't believe everything that was said. Flower Fairy was very sure. Even if Flower Fairy was not sure, Long Fei would still take the risk. Boss, it's even a soul treasure. Even if it was a lie, he still had to try. Long Fei immediately said, "Wait here, I'll go into the valley and take a look myself." After a night of killing, Mu Yun's entire body was covered with flesh wounds. Although it was not heavy, he had pretty much used up all of his holy sauce. If he followed him in, he would instead become a burden for Long Fei. Mu Yun nodded his head and said, "Boss, then you must be careful." Long Fei said, "If I don't come out before daybreak, you can go back first and help me clean practicing courtyard." Mu Yun said, "All right, I will remember." After giving instructions, Long Fei walked into the valley alone. The darkest time before dawn. Long Fei's cultivation was not high. In the darkness, he could only see the distance of 10 meters. Flower Fairy, position, go to the right. There will be a wall at the end of the tunnel. The cave is somewhere on the wall. All right. Following the Flower Fairy's instructions, Long Fei swiftly walked to the right side of the mountain cliff and followed the cliff until he entered deep into the mountain. Not long after, he indeed saw the entrance to a pitch-black cave. Flower Fairy said, "It should be here." However, "Master, I asked my friends on the way here. They said that the Stone Wolf King in the cave is very powerful. Why don't we go back first?" Flower Fairy was a little worried. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "Are you worried about me?" Flower Fairy replied, Long Fei said, "You are worried that if I die, no one will provide you with the holy source to absorb." Flower Fairy muttered, "That's right, it was so difficult for me to parasitize myself on a person's body. I really don't want anything to happen to you." She had suffered too much. Long Fei was the first human to agree to her being a parasite. As long as a human provided her with holy source to absorb, she did not have to worry. Long Fei said, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. Don't you want to eat the ducks that are in your mouth?" Non-existent. Moreover, not being able to break through even one level in this night gave Long Fei a headache. How long would he be able to continue to walk out of the God-living mountain? Moreover, the undead lord could come at any time. If he did not become stronger before this, how would he take revenge? Long Fei kept thinking about leveling up and becoming stronger. He wouldn't miss out on any EXP, let alone a boss. Looking at the dark mountain cave, Long Fei stepped into it. The moment he stepped into the cave, an angry growl came from the depths of the cave. At the same time, pairs of eyes that glowed with green light appeared in the dark cave. Long Fei frowned, "Damn. I was wondering why we didn't encounter a single demon beast in the valley. So it turns out that they're all hiding here." The green eyes of his hands were the eyes of a demon. Woo woo. Woo woo woo. A stone wolf that was a size larger than the ones outside the valley entered Long Fei's field of vision. Its stone armor was heavier, and its aura was more violent. Its tongue was trembling in its mouth as it let out roars and growls. Its two long fangs were shining with a cold light, as saliva slowly dripped from between its teeth. It flowed down. Very cruel. The dark green eyes turned sinister. Bam! The stone wolf burst out and charged straight at Long Fei. So fast. This guy should be an elite stone wolf monster, right? Long Fei's body sank, and without waiting for the stone wolf to rush over, he faced it head-on. 8 bursts fist. The power from his body gushed into his fist. Boom. A punch landed on the stone wolf's head, causing a red damage figure to float up above, 2,000 at the same time. The stone wolf's HP also appeared, 12,000 point. The damage was reduced by 1-fold. The stone wolf's health also increased by 2,000. Although it had not reached the realm of a second-stage demon beast, it was much stronger than the stone wolf outside. It really is an elite monster. Long Fei rubbed his slightly numb fists together, the stone wolf's head slightly split open, and a few drops of blood flowed out from it. The blood flowed down the lines on the top of its head, making it even more furious. Roar! Letting out a roar, the stone wolf propped itself up with its feet and pounced towards Long Fei. Long Fei looked up, his right leg standing at his original position. He soared into the sky. "Little brat, am I not able to take care of you?" He immediately jumped to the top of the stone wolf, flipped his body, and threw a heavy punch towards the stone wolf. Bam! The stone wolf fell to the ground. Long Fei descended and began a violent fight. Punch after punch followed. While he's sick, take his life. This is what Long Fei is like. Don't give him the chance, otherwise he definitely wouldn't let you get up. Under Long Fei's critical strike, The blood on the stone wolf's head quickly decreased until it became 0. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Stone Wolf. You have received 6,000 experience points, 600 holy source points, and 1 striking value point. An extra 1,000 experience points. The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up. Looking at the other stone wolf that had walked out, he said, "Next." Boom. Boom. Swish. 3 minutes later. Another stone wolf fell onto the ground. The clothes on Long Fei's chest had also been ripped. The level was a hard wound. Long Fei's battle experience, reaction, speed, and control of his strength could be said to be as pure as fire. The level of a 4th grade deity was simply too low. Next. 8 bursts fist. Boom. Another punch struck out, and 8 consecutive explosions sounded out from the stone wolf's body. With a slight tremble of his body, Long Fei moved as fast as if he was flying. Directly behind the stone wolf, he exploded outwards. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Stone Wolf for obtaining 6,000 experience, 600 holy source points, 1 striking value. Ding! The system beep rang once every few minutes. Half an hour later. After a few rounds, the view within the cave gradually became clear. From the depths of the cave, a variety of colored lights were constantly flashing. It should be soon, right? Long Fei was secretly happy in his heart. And looking at the colorful glow, he became excited. It seems that Flower Fairy did not lie to me. A spiritual treasure really was born. Ha ha ha. Roar. A furious roar. In that instant, the golden light was dazzling as a 3-meter-tall stone wolf king rushed out. Its aura was extremely ferocious and fierce, and not only were the stones on its body carved with all kinds of runes. Their auras were completely different. Damn. The boss is the boss, but it's different. Since it's a boss, then I won't delay any longer. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly. The idea moved and took out the Dong Huang sword. This is the only boss left. Kill it with 1 strike. The god's chop. Since it's a booze, then it's the last one. Since it's a booze, then it's the last one. Since it was the last demon beast, then what time was there to waste? To instantly use God's Chop, this move surpassed Long Fei's cultivation of level 10, and could kill anything within level 10. Just like humans, the demon beast were the same. Stone Wolf King is just a 1st stage demon beast boss. No matter how high your cultivation is, you can't possibly surpass the Holomoon state, right? Thus, with this cut, the Stone Wolf King would definitely die. Ding. Target locked. Kill. Long Fei's 2 hands held onto the sword hilt. He bellowed out and then fiercely pulled. The Dong Huang sword does not have a sword body, but the god's sword spirit replaced the sword body, and poured the power of the god's chop into the sword. Destroy. The destructive force furiously slashed down from the god's sword spirit. The Stone Wolf King did not dodge and rushed forward. Rumble. 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 Sword chi wreaked havoc in the cave, causing huge tremors. The rocks around the cave wall fell down crazily, causing the ground to shake and the mountains to tremble. It seemed as if the cave could collapse at any time. Long Fei frowned. He was filled with doubts. Because he did not hear the system's notification sound. He didn't die. That's impossible. No matter how strong Stone Wolf King are, they can't possibly surpass the 4th level of the Divine Moon Realm, right? God's Chop can kill a 4th level Spirit Moon Realm person. Is a 1st level Demon Beast boss really that strong? No prompting was the best proof. Long Fei's mind tensed up. Countless of life and death experiences had told him, in this kind of situation, if Stone Wolf King doesn't die, he might die in the next second. Immediately, Long Fei leaped with all his might and rushed forward. The god's chop was exceptionally strong, being able to instantly kill an existence below level 10. If the Stone Wolf King did not die, it would definitely be severely injured. This was a time he could not afford to miss. Long Fei rushed out with all his might, his mind thinking the entire time about why he did not instantly kill the Stone Wolf King. Its level definitely cannot surpass the 4th stage of the Divine Moon Realm, unless external strength. The divine space was the strongest plane of ancient world. This was the true ancient world, the place where countless dimensions were born. There are billions of years ago. Old things. In these countless years, this continent was filled with many unknown secrets. Anything could happen. Stone Wolf King was only a first-stage demon beast boss, so no matter how strong they could not surpass the divine moon realm. There was only one possibility for him to survive. There was a unique power in his body that could block powerful attacks. Perhaps he could evade some attacks. When he rushed into the depths of the cave, Long Fei suddenly had a flash of inspiration, the inscription on its body. Yes. It must be the effect of those inscriptions. Long Quang, do you know those inscriptions? Long Fei immediately asked. Long Quang and Long Batian were people of the same generation, super powerhouses from several trillion years ago. They were the earliest group of people in the ancient world. They should understand divine space the best. However, Long Quang was stupefied and said, "When that Stone Wolf King appeared, I noticed the inscriptions on it. But the strange thing is, I don't understand a single one of these inscriptions." He could not understand. This made Long Fei even more shocked. The Dragon Quang was one of the first powerhouse in the divine space, an ancient powerhouse, but he actually could not understand it. That he had never seen before. Long Fei said in shock, You actually don't understand? It can't be." Long Quang was also very puzzled and said, "There are over 3,700 inscriptions in ancient world. I know all the over 3,700 inscriptions, and it can be said that I can recite them all backwards, but the inscriptions on this tiny first-stage demon beast is actually, I don't understand. This. Could it be that during my disappearance, my divine space underwent many changes? Am I out of date?" I. Long Quang had a bitter look on his face. Ever since Long Fei entered the divine space, he felt that he had completely broken off all ties with this world. Moreover, there was still a knot in his heart. Was he Long Batian's pawn? This question had always puzzled him. It's fine if you don't know. You're not a god, so it's impossible for you to know everything. Even if you're a god, it's also impossible for you to know everything. Long Fei did not ask further. It was just that. His heart was shocked. Either these inscriptions were from more than 3,700 different types. Or later. There was another possibility, it was an alien species. An inscription from another world. It wasn't impossible, the current ancient world looked like he was being controlled by the Xian nationality, but the truth was that the ones who were truly controlling the ancient world were the foreign forces backing the Xian nationality. It was normal for foreign inscriptions to appear. No matter what. Even if it's the emperor himself, he will still die today. Long Fei quickly followed the trail of blood on the ground and caught up. The more he went in, the brighter the light became. It shone with a 7-colored light. A few minutes later, Long Fei reached the deepest part. An open space half the size of a basketball court. In the center was an altar with a small stone floating above it. It was a black stone, and the stone was surrounded by all sorts of lights. The altar was surrounded by densely packed inscription patterns. These inscriptions were not sculpted or written, but rather came from a person's own body. Long Fei saw the scene in front of him, and his eyes secretly tensed up. I'm going, where is this place? It was a little creepy. It was like a cult. Long Quang immediately said, Master, this place is very dangerous. Long Fei did not withdraw. If he didn't kill the boss, how could he leave? The Stone Wolf King was not far away. Strangely, he was kneeling on the ground like a human, worshipping the black stone. At this time, the inscription on the altar continued to pour into his wounds, and the amount of blood on his head was rapidly recovering. Holy **T. Long Fei shouted. Stone Wolf King's HP was very little, but if he continued to recover, it wouldn't even take 10 minutes for his HP to fully recover. Immediately, Long Fei did not care about the inscriptions on the altar. First kill to respect. With a step forward, Long Fei punched the Stone Wolf King, 8 bursts fist. The Stone Wolf King's body was flung several meters away, and the sound of 8 violent strikes came from its body. The Stone Wolf King roared in anger, and instantly pounced towards Long Fei, its powerful aura completely suppressing Long Fei's mind. The demon beast raged, entering into a berserk state. The attribute is doubled. F***CK. Long Fei's eyes darkened. The god's chop was cooling down, so it was impossible for him to cut it again. The 8 bursts fist was also of little use to him. And at this time, there was no way for him to escape. Long Fei didn't have any countermeasures. However, just as Long Fei was at a loss for what to do, the inscriptions under his feet continuously flowed into his body like vines, and the inscriptions that looked like small black tadpoles appeared on his fists one after another. Strength. It suddenly swelled up like an explosion. Seeing the Stone Wolf King coming towards him, Long Fei punched him with his backhand. Rumble. 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 The body of the Stone Wolf King was instantly smashed into smithereens, causing Long Fei to be stunned in place. Damn. Looking at the inscription on his fist, he couldn't help but look at the altar behind him. As he looked at the altar, his pupils rapidly shrank like needles, because the black stone on the altar had disappeared, and the one to replace it was himself. The black stone that was originally floating had disappeared. Standing on the altar was Long Fei himself. The black stone that was originally floating had disappeared. Standing on the altar was Long Fei himself. As for him, he was clearly standing under the altar. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Did you see a ghost? A supernatural event? That's not right. Long Fei felt that something was wrong. His entire body felt numb, as if it was being bitten by a small worm. Pulling open the clothes at his chest, Long Fei's face immediately turned pale white. Dense runes of all kinds filled his entire body, and he was even gently moving. Not the surface of the skin, but the lower layer. When these runes entered his body, Long Fei felt an immense strength. Originally, Long Fei thought that it was nothing much. He was still very excited. After all, one punch was enough to kill the Stone Wolf King. Its damage was too great. But now, Long Fei was a little afraid. He asked in a deep voice, "What do you want to do?" On the altar, Long Fei said at the same time, "What do you want to do?" It sounded exactly like his voice, as if he was repeating it himself. Impossible. Impossible. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. Is there a climax to repeating my words? Is there a climax to repeating my words? Long Fei said one sentence, and Long Fei, who was on the altar, said another. During this process, the runes on the altar continuously rushed towards Long Fei. With Long Fei as the center, a rune circle with a radius of 2 meters appeared. At the same time, on the altar, there was also a runic circle, with Long Fei as the center. The runes were being pulled by a strand of energy and unceasingly entering Long Fei's body. Long Fei's whole body could not endure the tearing, and the runes were filled with blazing energy. Boom! When the supreme force was released, it caused the clothes on the upper half of the body to burst out, revealing the upper half of the body. It was densely packed with runes, just like a monk from the underworld in a temple. It was very cruel. What's going on? Long Fei was unable to control the runes, and currently, he couldn't even move his feet. Long Quang was also incomparably anxious, saying, "Master, although I don't understand these symbols, I can deduce that it wants to possess another body." Possession? Long Fei raised his eyebrows. Long Quangdao, he's learning every single move of yours, imitating even your words, so he wants to become you. Once he completely controls you, your current body will probably die. Damn, how could he be so sinister? Long Fei's heart sank. Is there any way to break it? Long Quangdao, I still haven't thought of it. Long Fei stared at himself on the altar and said, "You want to rob me?" This time, it was a little unexpected. On the altar, Long Fei did not repeat himself, but instead, the corner of his mouth slightly curled, revealing an evil smile. "Not bad, even though your body is not too good, at least it can let me out of here. Don't worry. From today onwards, I will replace you. Your life will become even more exciting, so calm down and set out on your journey." Ha ha ha. On the altar, Long Fei was very proud of himself. Because He was already 90% sure that Long Fei wouldn't be able to struggle free from this situation. In that short period of time, he had already grasped all of Long Fei's body. As long as it was time, he could completely take control of Long Fei. Long Fei also sneered, and said, "If you were to rob this father, then I'm afraid you wouldn't know who I am." Long Fei, who was on the altar, laughed. "Who could you be? However, you are just a service disciple in the God-living mountain. Your talent is low and you don't have much hope in this life. You really don't know who I am." Long Fei smiled. Right now, he couldn't move because he was bound by symbols. He was currently receiving damage from the rune. The way to dispel this kind of damage was upgrade. This was because all of Long Fei's attributes would be restored after he leveled up. At that moment, the bindings would disappear. Just now, he killed the Stone Wolf King and immediately, the system beep replied. On the altar, Long Fei revealed a disdainful sneer, and said, "You? To let me possess your body is your supreme honor, and you want to resist? Dream on." "Oh, is that so?" Long Fei squinted. At this moment, the system beep rang. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Stone Wolf King, for obtaining 30,000 EXP, 3,000 holy source points, 1 striking value point. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Stone Wolf Crystal. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, Sky God 5th pin. A level up notification sounded. At this moment, all of the attributes on Long Fei's body were fully recovered. Was already prepared for it, with a flick of his wrist, he leapt out fiercely. Boom. He leapt up from the ground. The runes on his body completely vanished. Long Fei, who was on the altar, lost control of Long Fei. After struggling for a bit, his illusionary figure disappeared and transformed back into the black stone. Long Fei, who had leapt into the air, did not escape. Just now, he had already experienced the formidable power brought to him by the runes. Once this power was used properly, his strength would increase by quite a few levels. Thus, he took a step forward and then shot toward the altar. If this altar is a formation, the black stone is not the core of the formation. The formation aperture should be above him, the place where the light is coming from. Long Fei quickly thought. Although the power of the ancient era's formation had disappeared, his understanding of formations had not disappeared. He was unable to carve an ancient era's formation. However, he knew very well about the construction of the formation. Up there. Break for me. He threw a punch towards the wall above the black stone. Bam! The rock wall shattered and a square mirror appeared. Fang Jing shone on the black stone. The black stone was trembling. Heh. It's the right bet. Long Fei picked it with one hand and immediately took Fang Jing off. The square mirror was moved, the array core was destroyed. At this moment, the entire altar seemed to have lost its life force. The runes were also rapidly drying up. Finally, they slowly disappeared from the ground, and the black stone also fell down. The cave returned to its peaceful state. Long Fei landed and carefully walked up the altar, looking at the fist-sized black stone. It was as if he was looking at a heart. The black runes on the black stone were densely packed and extremely tiny. Long Fei shone the square mirror in his hand onto the black stone, causing it to immediately tremble as if it came alive. When the square mirror was removed, the black stone returned to normal. Interesting. Fang Jing has suppressed the black stone. The black stone possesses the power of the runes. Then where did my power come from? Long Fei was a little doubtful in his heart. He picked up the black stone on the ground and asked, "Dragon Quang, do you know what kind of material this is?" Long Quang carefully sensed it and said, "I've never seen it before, it doesn't look like it belongs to the ancient world." Foreign stone? Long Fei looked at the black stone in his hand. Ancient world seems to have more and more foreign forces, huh? While he was speaking, the black stone in his hands suddenly rushed into his palm. Boom! With a dull thud, it charged straight to his heart. Suddenly, there was no sign. Long Fei felt his own heart tighten, as though his chest had become heavier, and he was suffocating. It was as if he was going to die. His face was pale. There was no reaction at all, and he could not resist at all. They could only allow that black stone to freely enter his heart. Would he possess a body? Long Fei didn't know. Will he die? He didn't know. At this moment, Long Fei was truly resigned to fate. Even if Fang Jing could suppress the black stone had already entered his heart. If he used Fang Jing to suppress it, his heart might even explode. Long Fei did not do so. Even if his body was possessed, he still had a chance to snatch it back. If his heart exploded, then he would really die. There was no saving him. A second was like a year. Long Fei could clearly feel the black stone slowly squeezing into his heart. The system beeped the moment he squeezed into his heart. Ding. System prompt, heart complete. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Heart of Inscription. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Power of Inscription. Item, inscribed heart grade. Material, titanium attributes, suffer extreme pressure to create a supreme blood vein. Description, the Heart of Inscription is a product of technology. Item, Power of Inscription grade. Attribute, strength descent description, releasing the inscription, the user will be surrounded by a powerful destructive force. When the system beep finished, Long Fei's entire being also relaxed for a moment. Phew. He took a few deep breaths. Long Fei's expression recovered and his brows tightened. System beep. If there was no system beep, Long Fei would be very worried, because Black Stone might very well possess another body. However, if the system recognizes that the Black Stone is unable to possess another body, that would mean that the Black Stone is unable to possess another body. Moreover, the system prompt shocked Long Fei beyond belief. The heart is assembled. Holy sh**, it feels like my body is a filling space. Technological products. This. Future black technology? Or was it a technology from a high plane? Just like the system in my mind. F***ck. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. There was the world of martial artists, the legendary world of immortals and demons, and countless other cultivation worlds. These worlds all existed, and had a history spanning several trillion years. This was an extension of the martial way. Similarly, tens of trillions of years of extension could also lead to the appearance of the technological world. It was just like Earth. From the Stone Age to the current technology era, this was a good proof. Thus, there must be a world of science and technology in the universe outside the ancient world. And the fact that this world of science and technology could be established in the universe showed just how powerful he was. Technology versus the ancient powerhouse, what kind of scene was this? The system in his mind was most likely from the high-tech world. The Black Stone had assembled into his heart. In place of his heart. Furthermore, the system had described him as a technological product, so Long Fei's body now had two technological products. One was the system, and the other was his Black Stone heart. Could not understand what kind of product it was. The system could not give any explanation. However, what is the heart for? Hematopoietic. The system especially described how the heart of a Black Stone could create a supreme blood vein for him. He can create a supreme blood vein? What level is this blood vein at? Long Fei sensed his heart, but there were no special changes. He only felt that his heart had become a little heavier. As for creating a supreme blood vein, he did not feel it. The heart is working, and it is producing blood. However, it was not a very fast process, and Long Fei had a large amount of blood in his body right now, so it was impossible for him to replace it soon. To Long Fei, compared to the heart of the inscription, he preferred the power of inscription more. This power was the power that he had used to kill the Stone Wolf King with a single punch. Once released, his fist was covered in runes. It was just like the seal runes from the previous Emperor Xian. Once he used the ancient power, it would appear, but that was in the form of suppressing his power, while the power of inscription strengthened his power. Long Fei was extremely excited. Ha ha ha. This trip was not in vain. I've struck it rich. Be it the heart of the black stone or the power of inscription, both could be of great help to Long Fei at the moment. He needed to become stronger quickly. Undead Lord could appear at any time, and it was unclear whether Liu Luoshi was still alive or not, so he had to become strong as soon as possible. With the black stone's heart, Long Fei had an additional reason to rely on the power of inscription. Rumble. 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 A rumbling sound could be heard from within the mountain. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. The mountain is about to cave in, I have to go back quickly. He quickly ran out of the cave. The cave collapsed after he ran out. Outside the cave, Mu Yun also left. At this moment, the sky was already bright. Mu Yun followed Long Fei's orders and swiftly rushed back to the eastern region. He had to help Long Fei clean up the practicing courtyard, and he must finish cleaning the practicing courtyard before the disciples come to cultivate. He now treated Long Fei as his boss. He saw hope in Long Fei, so Long Fei's matter was his. It was just that. They were going too deep into the mountain forest, so it was already morning when Mu Yun returned to the east side. He did not have time to change his clothes and directly ran towards practicing courtyard. At this time, practicing courtyard already had many disciples training in the morning. Hey, what are you doing? You woke up even later than us. What kind of place do you think the Mu clan is? Raising a service trash like you? You only came to clean up now, do you want to die? When Mu Yun walked into the practicing courtyard, he was immediately surrounded by a few green badge disciples, all of them staring at him viciously. Mu Yun apologized repeatedly. Senior brother is sorry, I am sorry, I will clean up immediately. Sorry? So what if I'm sorry? You're delaying our practice. Do you think you can waste our time? Do you know how much time you've wasted? These green badge disciples did not intend to let Mu Yun go. Mu Yun kept apologizing, but it was useless. The status of service disciples was low to begin with, so they had to lower their heads before these green token disciples. Kid. You wasted my training time today, so you have to compensate. A man's lips curled up into a sinister smile. Mu Yun said, Senior brother, I have no money. A single monthly service disciple was not enough and he did not have any extra money. The man was not surprised. No money? If that's the case, then serve as my training equipment. Mu Yun's pupils contracted. What was a training equipment? A human sandbag. To be able to spew out a few mouthfuls of blood from a beating, to be able to recuperate from internal injuries for 10 days to half a month, and to be beaten badly from that. It was death. At this moment, Mu Yarrow walked past Mu Yun into the training room. Mu Yun wanted to ask her for help, but Mu Yarrow didn't even look at him. Brat, have you decided? Mu Yun didn't even raise his head as he punched forward. Had no time to prepare for a quick punch. Had no time to prepare for a quick punch. After being struck in the stomach, his body caved in and he explosively retreating dozens of steps before falling to the ground. Poochie. A mouthful of blood sprayed out. He really is trash. He vomited blood just like that. I can't even take a single punch. Ha ha ha. Servant disciples are servant disciples. Not to mention having poor talent, even their physical bodies are so weak. Ha ha ha. Many people in the crowd were laughing at him. Mu Yun looked at Mu Yarrow who was walking past him. He wished so much that Mu Yarrow could turn around and look at him, wished so much that he could say a few words for him. As long as Mu Yarrow spoke out, these people would definitely not make a move. However, no. In the end, Mu Yarrow did not turn back as she did not even pay attention to what was happening around her. She never wasted her time on unimportant people. He would not even bother about a service disciple. Mu Yun laughed bitterly in his heart. She is a goddess that is above others. Why would she care about someone like me? Besides, she doesn't know me, so why should she help me? Mu Yun, you are really a toad that wants to eat swan meat. You're daydreaming. His heart sank. Boom. He abruptly stood up from the ground and said, You've already fought and scolded. Is that enough? He was infuriated. Moreover, although the goddess did not save him, He wanted to be a little more unyielding in front of the goddess, at least on the surface. This was self-esteem. Out. The leader of the disciples stepped forward and coldly snorted, "You dare to speak to me like this, you lowly servant. You must be tired of living." Mu Yun clenched his fists tightly and said, "We are all disciples of the Mu clan. Are you not as relaxed as us service disciples? If you dare to attack again, don't blame me for retaliating." As soon as he finished, those green token disciples were enraged. A service disciple actually wanted to fight back. What was this? Wasn't this turning the sky upside down? What was the status of a service disciple? In the Mu clan, they were just low-class people with no status at all. And it was exactly because their talent was too low that they could not do anything in their entire lives. This kind of person would never be able to turn his back. So what if you're a disciple of the Mu clan? You still dare to be arrogant? He was more like a masochist. Fight back. Kid, you're tired of living. You, a trash, dare to retaliate? Sure. I will definitely teach you a good lesson today. While they were talking, several green token disciples surrounded him and the leading disciple shouted, "Let me do it. Today, I will cripple him." As he spoke, his right fist moved, his waist sank as power surged out, blasting right into Mu Yun's chest with a loud sound, 8 bursts fist. Bam! A fist landed on Mu Yun's chest, but Mu Yun did not dodge. He felt a splitting pain in his chest and his body continuously retreated backwards. At the same time, 8 sounds rang out from his body. Bang, bang, bang. Boss is awesome. 8 bursts fist, 8 explosive sounds. Boss has already grasped the essence of the 8 bursts fist. So powerful. A few lackeys praised. Being able to produce 8 echoes of the 8 bursts fist, this fist technique was indeed not bad. Even the nearby Mu Yarrow had slightly stopped, as he turned his head to look at the disciple with the green token. Those few underlings immediately said, "Boss, Goddess Mu Yarrow is looking at you. Wow, senior sister couldn't have fallen for you, right? Ha ha ha. It must be. The boss is so mighty. Even Goddess Mu Yarrow looks at him in a different light. This year's South Area assessment will definitely give you a spot as the boss." All kinds of flattery flew in the air. The disciple in the lead was also extremely pleased with himself, and his tail was almost sticking up to the sky. The reason he cultivated the 8 bursts fist was to attract Mu Yarrow's attention. It was because he knew that Mu Yarrow had always been training in the 8 bursts fist, and it was also because of Mu Yarrow's presence that he was able to use the 8 bursts fist. After training, Mu Yarrow would definitely look for him to discuss about the 8 bursts fist. When he thought of this, he felt even more proud. The 8 explosions just now were so intense that it seemed very impressive. However, the damage was not great. Mu Yun was someone who understood, and at the beginning, he thought that he would at least be severely injured and collapse, but that didn't make his heart tremble. Is the 8 bursts fist different from the boss 8 bursts fist? Boss 8 bursts fist could take half of the stone wolf's life, but it didn't hurt much when it hit me. He was slightly surprised. He was very clear about how strong Long Fei's 8 bursts fist was. The disciple in front of him, Mu Shan, was on a completely different level from him. Moreover, last night, Long Fei had also told him about the cultivation method and details of the 8 bursts fist. Although he did not succeed in cultivating it, he felt that the 8 bursts fist that he had mastered was stronger than Mu Shan's. However, even if the power was not strong, blood still flowed out from the corner of Mu Yun's mouth. Mu Shan's pupils sank and the corner of his eye twitched a few times. He stared at Mu Yun and said, "You want to die, right? Then I shall raise the power of the 8 bursts fist to its highest level." It was loud. It was purposely told to Mu Yarrow. The surrounding underlings all whispered, "Boss, Goddess Mu Yarrow is still looking at you. Boss, do your best. Ha ha ha. Boss, this punch will definitely kill this trash." Mu Shan was very excited. If he did not use his full strength for the previous punch, then he would definitely use all his strength for this punch, because he would make Mu Yarrow not forget him. This world pursued the highest realm. The powerhouse was respected. Women liked powerhouse. As long as he could unleash the true power of the 8 bursts fist, Mu Yarrow would definitely like him. Buzz. The moment his waist moved, his strength surged upwards. He raised his right fist and dove downwards. 8 bursts fist. A fist struck towards Mu Yun's chest. Mu Yun stood in place, his mind carefully recalling the details of the 8 bursts fist that Long Fei had told him. Strength is born from the heart. Run whole body. Raising his right fist, he lowered it. Facing Mu Shan's fist, Mu Yun's eyes turned sinister, his fist struck out straight, at the same time he shouted out, 8 bursts fist. Everyone shivered. Who would have thought that Mu Yun would actually dare to counterattack, and even use 8 bursts fist? 8 bursts fist. He's a bastard, right? Ha ha ha. For a mere service disciple, not to mention having the qualifications to cultivate the 8 bursts fist, he would not even have the slightest bit of power to do so. Just look at him, he knows he doesn't have any strength. Many of the people nearby began to mock him. Mu Shan even revealed a look of disdain. At this moment, the 2 fists collided. Bam! A loud explosion sounded as the 2 forces collided. Mu Yun's arm bent slightly, his body sank, and consecutively exploded backwards, as though his entire arm was crippled. Trash is trash. Servant disciples must have the consciousness to become a service disciple. Acting tough on our boss. You are still far from it. Seeing Mu Yun retreating, everyone laughed. However, at this moment, Mu Shan stood where he was without moving, and his body exploded with 8 intense sounds. Explode, 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 explode. Explode, 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 explode. 8 ear-piercing explosions resounded, exploding on practicing courtyard. Almost everyone turned to look at Mu Shan, because these 8 explosive sounds were too ear-piercing and too unfamiliar. What kind of cultivation technique could produce such a loud noise? When they saw the explosive sounds coming from Mu Shan's body, they were all stunned. At the same time, 8 places on Mu Shan's body exploded outwards. It was like his meridians exploding. Fresh blood spurted out. Mu Shan's face also became extremely pale. Her body sank as her eyes firmly locked onto Mu Yun, and then, his body went limp and he fell backward. He had fainted. The entire courtyard was in complete silence. All of them looked at Mu Yun with dumbstruck expressions. Mu Yun was also secretly surprised. He never thought that his own 8 bursts fist would completely suppress Mu Shan's 8 bursts fist. One must know that he was 3 realms lower than Mu Shan. Just by suppressing his cultivation level, it was impossible for him to injure Mu Shan. Furthermore, it was impossible for him to use just 1 night of cultivation to injure the 8 bursts fist. There was only one explanation for all of this. Mu Yun and Mu Shan's 8 bursts fist were not the same. This was the only explanation. They were both at the 8 bursts fist, and their cultivation was not as strong as Mu Shan's, but Mu Yun had one. Half a minute passed and everyone in the audience was looking at Mu Yun, and Mu Yarrow was similarly looking at him. Mu Yun noticed that this was the first time the goddess in his heart looked at him with such seriousness. She was feeling a little proud and excited in her heart. However, it was not as overjoyed as he had imagined. Very strange. It was as if he didn't like it at all. He couldn't tell why. Mu Yarrow was very astonished in his heart, because the earlier punch from Mu Yun had unleashed all of the 8 bursts fist's power. One explosive attack was stronger than the other, especially the 8th explosion's damage. However, she could only do the 7th explosion. Her heart was filled with doubt. She had even started to think that the one who swept the floor yesterday morning was Mu Yun, that it was Mu Yun who had said those words to her. Right now, she really wanted to cultivate to the 8th explosive power. Looking at Mu Yun, she walked over. Seeing the goddess walk towards him, Mu Yun was a little excited in his heart. However, without waiting for Mu Yarrow to reach his side, Mu Shan's minions immediately surrounded Mu Yun. What a good service disciple. You actually dare to injure a regular disciple. You, a service disciple, don't even have the qualifications to cultivate the 8 bursts fist. You actually dared to secretly learn it. According to the family rules, we should break both his arms. Brothers, let's attack together and cripple him. Mu Yun had one, and their faces were all over the place. If they did not cripple Mu Yun, what face would they have in the future? Everyone surged forward at the same time and tightly surrounded Mu Yun. The reason why Mu Yun could injure Mu Shan was because he underestimated his opponent. Furthermore, Mu Yun had used his super strength to unleash his attacks, but such an explosion could not continue to occur. He hadn't completely mastered the 8 bursts fist. If he were to be called upon to fight back, he would definitely be unable to unleash the might he had just displayed. In addition, there were 6 or 7 people here. Every single one of them had a higher cultivation base than him, so he simply wasn't his match. He couldn't withstand it at all. After a few moves, he was pressed to the ground. Mu Yun, who was walking towards him, stopped midway and looked at him, but did not have any intentions of helping him. Mu Yun felt a slight chill in his heart. Hold his hand. I'm going to cripple him. You actually dared to secretly learn a cultivation technique. Today, I will break your hand. A man escaped with a long blade and slashed at Mu Yun's hand. Practicing courtyard did not stop them. He was just a service disciple. Even if he knocked Mu Shan out just now, he was still a service disciple. Who would take an extra look? Who cares? No one. Even if it was Mu Yarrow, she only looked at him coldly. She had initially thought that Mu Yun had grasped the essence of the 8 bursts fist, but seeing how he was beaten up by several people, she knew she was mistaken. That punch must have been a coincidence. It was just a coincidence. If one could cultivate the 8 bursts fist to such a level, would they still be afraid of these minions? It could be seen that Mu Yun did not have control over the 8 bursts fist. He felt slightly disappointed. Mu Yarrow looked at Mu Yun, whose hands were about to be crippled, and did not say anything. It was because a service disciple did not have the qualifications to cultivate the 8 bursts fist. He must have been secretly learning. The management of the technique was very strict in the Mu clan. Any scholar who stole it would be punished. Thus, she turned slowly. At this moment, Mu Yun was in despair. Hold him down. With a loud shout, he chopped down with his blade. At this moment, bam! A muffled sound rang out as a figure quickly dashed over and said in a heavy voice, "Who dares to move my brother?" The aura on his body suddenly exploded. It directly made those small fries retreat a few steps. The person who came was none other than the Long Fei, who had rushed back in a hurry. What Long Fei was releasing was not pressure, but killing intent that came from 1,000 gold and 100 battle. Boss. The corners of Mu Yun's eyes were wet. If he was 1 second late, his hand would have been severed. Long Fei immediately helped Mu Yun up, and said, "Are you alright?" Mu Yun shook his head, "I won't die." However, Mu Yun looked at the small fry and at the same time, gathered many people from the practicing courtyard. Another service disciple? Damn, are all the service disciples these arrogant? Lawless? What is a mere service disciple up to? You're courting death. There were many servant disciples who did not like him, let alone such arrogant servant disciples like Long Fei. Long Fei's arrogant appearance on the stage made many disciples of practicing courtyard unhappy. Long Fei said in a deep voice, and said, "Stop with the nonsense, who wants my brother's hands? Now let's try touching him." Since he had already accepted Mu Yun as his lackey, then Long Fei would treat him as a brother. And Mu Yun was not bad to him. Seeing his own brother being humiliated, Long Fei couldn't help but laugh. A service disciple like you wants to stand up for him? You have to consider yourself. If you try to stick your neck out, see if you can walk out of here today. A few disciples walked up. At this moment, the door to the training room was pushed open and an old man walked out. The old man said in a deep voice, "Why are you making so much noise so early in the morning? Didn't he need to train? How much time is left for the examination?" His words were filled with anger. All of the disciples trembled slightly. One of the disciples said, "Elder, there's a service disciple who is secretly learning a cultivation technique and ambushing a disciple of our practicing courtyard." Stealthily learning cultivation techniques? The elder frowned and snorted. He did not bother examining the elder and immediately ordered, "You have secretly learned cultivation techniques and crippled his hands according to the circumstances. You are expelled from God-living mountain." Receiving the elder's order, those disciples became more imposing. Mu Yun's body slightly trembled. His life was probably over. The elder had already given the order, there was no way he could wash away the crime of stealing knowledge. At this time, Long Fei took a step forward. Mu Yun pulled him back, shook his head, and said, "Boss, don't go. Since you've acknowledged me as your boss, then I have a duty to protect you." Long Fei took a step forward, and said solemnly, "Secretly learning cultivation techniques? Who here can prove it? The 8 bursts fist you guys are cultivating is just a pile of crap. Even if I had to learn it, I wouldn't be bothered to take a look." Long Fei was tyrannical to the extreme. As soon as he finished, the entire practicing courtyard seemed to have exploded. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.